The meeting will now come to order. I will read the EPSB mission statement. The Educational Professional Standards Board, in full collaboration and cooperation with its education partners, promotes high level of student achievement by establishing and enforcing rigorous professional standards for preparation, certification, and responsible and ethical behavior of all professional educators in Kentucky. We welcome you all today and ask Board Secretary Sharon Chesser to please call the roll.
Amanda Ellis, Michael Yoder,
Present.
Scotty Collar,
Present.
Elizabeth Dinkins,
Present.
Elijah Edwards, Kathy Gunn,
Present.
Priscilla Keller, Jacqueline Mayfield,
Present.
Lori McKeon, Justin Mitchell,
Here.
Corinne Murphy,
Here.
Nicholas Pace, Meredith Pittman, Lisa Rosinski,
Present.
Vice Chair Fryer,
Present.
Chair Snell.
Present.
We have quorum.
Thank you so much. Joining us today is the Commissioner of Education, Dr. Robbie Fletcher, as Executive Secretary for the EPSB. I will now recognize Dr. Fletcher to give his report.
Thank you, Chair Snell, and it's glad to be here today, and it's good to be, we talk a lot about, spring in Kentucky, and looking forward to the warmer weather returning, so thankful to everyone that's enjoyed the beautiful drive in and been here with us today. But I will get started with our section of the reports, and I'll just go straight in, and we'll start with Chair Robinson from the Kentucky Board of Education, our chair here at the Kentucky Board, for the report from our group, if you wouldn't mind.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Chair Snell and members of the EPSB. I'm happy to bring you a report from the April 8 and 9 meeting of the Kentucky Board of Education. We discussed school improvement efforts and heard about the Kentucky Department of Education, so how the department supports schools that are federally identified for assistance based on the overall score generated by Kentucky State Accountability System. The KBE heard from Associate Commissioner Dr. Kelly Foster about intervention and support for comprehensive support and improvement schools. We call them the CSI schools. CSI intervention begins the very day a school is identified and is led by KDE, the KDE Education Recovery Team, to help develop a 3-year turnaround plan. In 2025, KDE identified 39 targeted support and improvement schools, 101 additional targeted support and improvement schools, and 49 comprehensive support and improvement schools. Now, federal law requires districts to support the targeted support and improvement and the additional targeted support and improvement schools. But Dr. Foster outlined how KDE supports these schools when funds are available, including continuous improvement reviews, strategic planning, needs assessment analysis, and professional learning and coaching, along with partnerships that can provide these schools with additional support. I will assure you this discussion resulted in an enhanced determination to advocate for more state funding so that KDE has the resources necessary to engage with these schools more intently. Additionally, we discussed the 2026 legislative session and legislation the board and KDE has been following. And Dr. Fletcher, I know, will give you a more comprehensive report, some of which is actually worth celebrating and others of which we will determine how to proceed in a manner responsive to our responsibilities. We discussed the results of a recent KDE customer satisfaction survey and identified challenges toward which we are going to target resources, and were very well informed by those results. We approved revisions to the Perkins 5-state plan to reflect the Kentucky summative assessment as the exam of record and to include Kentucky's estimated 2026-27 Perkins funding allocation of over $22 million for career and technical education. We also approved amendments to 702 KAR 3220 guidelines for waiving school fees to clarify that schools or districts qualifying under USDA's community eligibility provision do not automatically have to waive fees for every student. We approved amendments to 702 KAR 6110, the claim reimbursement regulations for school and community nutrition plans to remove outdated form references and update language to accommodate online claim filing. And we approved waiver requests from three school districts in the state. We approved annual revisions to Kentucky's minimum specifications on school buses, and in moments of celebration, awarded the 2026 Robinson Award to Rhonda Loxton, Executive Director of the Kentucky Special Involvement Network, KY SPIN. This was a glorious moment, and we were very thrilled to recognize Ms. Loxton for her incredible work. April marked the last meeting for KBE member Dr. Lee Todd, whose term on the board expired. While we hated to see him go, we were very thankful for Dr. Todd's service over 2 fully engaging terms of service. His unwillingness, his willingness to come to every meeting fully prepared, often with questions prepared in advance. And so you were forearmed and forewarned and fully informed by his participation. His unwavering dedication to Kentucky students, all of them, is just unquestionable. And we wished him well in his next steps. I want to inform the EPSB that during board sharing, we provided an update on the Kentucky high school transformation efforts and our research collaborative with EPSB. You'll be hearing more about that. This work has been truly informative, inspiring, and we hope will illuminate really important opportunities for us to address the issues of retention. Our next meeting is May 6th. It's a virtual learning session focused on legislative priorities. That concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions and happy to be with you.
Any questions for Chair Robinson? Hearing none. Thank you so much, Chair Robinson, for your time today. Thank you for reporting on behalf of the Kentucky Board of Education. And I will say one other thing. It's always an honor to sit with so many great people at tables, but to bring out Dr. Lee Todd as a true gentleman and statesman, and his questions are always very engaging as far as what's our next steps, especially when it comes to science, mathematics within the classroom. Such an honor to serve with Dr. Todd. I did tell him I'm very thankful that my principal certification that hangs on my wall, my diploma, my degree, has his name on it in my office. So I'm very thankful for that. So again, thank you so much, Chair Robinson. We appreciate the report, and we'll see you pretty soon. We have a virtual meeting coming up in May.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson.
Thank you.
We'd like to invite another one of our partners, along with the, from the Kentucky Education and Labor Cabinet. And of course, Commissioner Yoder and I seem like we've been traveling a lot of the same circles. I told him I was following him around this morning, so we're very happy to have Commissioner Yoder to give us a report from the ELC.
Thank you, Commissioner Fletcher. Yeah, it's great to be with you again. We were last together at KWIB, the Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board. That's one of the key pieces that we have within the Education and Labor Cabinet. Had a good conversation there, and your comments were struck home in terms of like the career counseling piece, right? So there's a deep need for career counselors within high schools, specifically thinking through like, the counselors that are in the high schools have a lot on their plate when it comes to education and counseling, academics, and college pathways, things like that. But how do we help students get into careers? And we really are focusing on that pathway with Everybody Counts and the governor's initiative, Everybody Counts. Really cool things happening this year. They have more than 2,000 participants across 7 school districts, and I think it's 20 schools that they're in. So we want to think about how we can blow that model up across the state. We've thought through, there are limitations in terms of financing and things like that. So what do we do to create a playbook that different school districts could adopt or workforce boards could adopt to help fund and kind of roll that strategy out across the entire state? So Chris Sanders, the executive director who's been in front of the board before, is working diligently on what that potentially looks like so that we can take whatever model is necessary for that particular region, that particular school district, or that particular school, and be able to implement it to really serve students. The other piece that we are looking at, and again, a conversation you and I had was from the economic development, education and labor, and the Cabinet for Economic Development continue to see a lot of synergy between the two. Kentucky was just recently announced as #1 in the nation for the manufacturing talent pipeline, which incorporates not only the supply that comes through, but long-term momentum in industry context. So having Area Development Magazine recognize Kentucky's work in that space is really a cool thing. But it does also provide us a lot of opportunity in the economic development space. And how do we communicate that out to companies when they're looking at potentially locating in Kentucky? And one thing that you and I were discussing was the accountability model, and how does a school put that accountability model and the pillars of that accountability on a website or communicate that in a way that resonates with the company. And so we're going to work with our workforce talent project managers, which are in the Office of Industry and Apprenticeship Services, to look at like a Rockcastle County who's already got that set up. How do we take that information and communicate it well, and so that we can better communicate what that looks like. A couple other things we're working on. Workforce Pell is a mandate that came out of House Bill 1 last year from the federal government. So thinking through how do we take those dollars that are going to be available and build pipelines and certificates that are stackable for those high demand, high skill, high wage jobs. How do we define that, and how do we align that with Perkins? We're also watching the current reauthorization of what is our Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. Is now a new acronym that we'll have to learn if it gets passed. But essentially, what they're trying to do at the federal level is blend the Kentucky adult education oversight within the Department of Education into the Department of Labor. So bringing those two together, how do we align better on Perkins? How do we align on how we define these different things? And so they're trying to bring a lot of synergy to that space. And then they'll say the last thing we are really focused on is apprenticeship. There's a lot of money flowing from the Department of Labor and the federal government on building apprenticeships, building pre-apprenticeships work so that we can make sure that we are building a talent pipeline. So everything we do is kind of revolving around economic development, talent pipeline, but it starts in the high school, it starts early in middle school, things like that. So how do we tell that story well?
Thank you so much, Commissioner Yoder. Any questions for Commissioner Yoder? And again, so thankful for the collaboration and the work with the Education and Labor Cabinet and and the work that's going on there. And again, the conversations that we have as it relates around local accountability. I'll give a little bit of a report a little bit later about House Bill 257 that passed. But again, having that, getting with employers to talk about what exactly could this mean for your local community. And we do have a lot of school systems, and it's growing, that are using this local accountability model to engage employers to say, how can we better meet your needs? So again, very excited about that. So again, thank you so much, Commissioner Yoder. And next, we have, unfortunately, one of our other collaborative partners, the Council for Post-Secondary Education, Dr. Melinda Ellis, was not able to be here today. I'm sure she's still sorting through all the bills and everything that passed with CPE. But again, we do miss her today and absolutely wish her the best, and we'll look forward to her report next time. But now we'll move on to the Office of Educator Licensure and Effectiveness. Dr. Meredith Brewer, our Associate Commissioner, will give a report from OELE.
Good morning. I did want to reserve the majority of my time for my report today for a special presentation from our Go Teach KY ambassadors. But before we transition into that, I do want to take a moment to officially welcome Whitney Crow here as dual placement as Deputy General Counsel in the Office of Legal Services and Policy Advisor in the Office of Educator Licensure and Effectiveness. Whitney brings with her years of outstanding experience, actually having served previously for EPSB and at the department as a policy advisor. So we are thrilled to have her expertise and look forward to working with her. I know Chair Snell and Vice Chair Fryer got to be part of the selection process, and I think they will echo that we are very fortunate to have Whitney here. Ooh. With that, I will invite Justin Edwards and our 3 Go Teach KY ambassadors to come to the table, and we'll talk about a really special project they took part in this year.
Good morning, Board. Thank you for having us. As Dr. Brewer said, my name is Justin Edwards. I am the consultant that oversees the Go Teach KY Ambassador Program, which is a group of 22 in-service teachers from across the state. And while we do many things, one of the things that we've started doing is a project which allows us to go out and do some research and discuss things. This year specifically, our project was around stay interviews. And today for you, I have 3 of my ambassadors here to discuss their results and how that project went for them. So without further ado, Tyler.
Good morning, everyone. So glad to be here today. I'm Tyler Saylor. I am a high school English teacher from Harlan Independent High School, part of the Go Teach Kentucky Ambassador Program this year. It's been a great opportunity and provided a lot of insight into our classrooms throughout Kentucky. And so I just wanted to share some of my findings with you today as part of my time as a Go Teach Kentucky Ambassador. So if you want to proceed to the next slide. So this is a presentation of Why We Stay, Voices from Kentucky Classrooms. So this is one of the projects that I did as part of Go Teach Kentucky, just as part of an investigative effort to find out why teachers are leaving, what makes them stay, some of the behind the scenes content. And so if you go to the next slide, please. So the first question that I asked each teacher that I interviewed was, what keeps you showing up every day to teach and inspire? And of course, the number one answer was the students. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Every teacher that I interviewed, their number one response was, I'm here for the students. So I think that's a great commonality for all of us to share. And so that was very, very great to see that. So next slide, please. 80% of the teachers made an interesting comment that said, there's nothing like teaching teenagers, right? 1 minute we are teaching them English, and the next we remind them that we keep our hands to ourselves, right? It's definitely an adventure every day. So I'll talk about the humor, the unpredictability, and the growth. So that was nice to see as well. Next slide, please. 100% of the interviewees say that they stay here for the students. One of the comments, though, that was mentioned as far as why they leave is the lack of autonomy, the amount of testing, and toxic work environments that drive them away. But hopefully, though, with a new accountability model, that will help alleviate some of the testing, especially with on-demand writing and editing mechanics off the table now. Hopefully, that will alleviate some of the pressure for them. So next question, please. Next slide, please. When I asked them for a moment, they would never forget 8 out of the 10 teachers told deeply personal stories. One teacher shared with me a story about how her first year of teaching, one of her students was living in the back of a car, and she had absolutely no idea that was the situation going on at home. And of course, there were a lot of tears, but a lot of reflection and saying, like, I wish I would have known those circumstances so I could have implemented those into my teaching practices to be more responsive to the needs of our students. So that was a nice story to hear from her. So next slide, please. The middle school teachers that I interviewed talked about belonging and identity. A few of them referred to it as the messy middle. I spent my first 2 years as a middle school teacher, so I can definitely agree with that, especially 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. They can be a little off the wall sometimes, but they were absolutely a joy, though, to be around. And then high school teachers talked about preparing students for the adult life, which I get to participate in a lot now that I'm 11th and 12th grade, a lot of the transition readiness and things like that. So that's been a highlight coming to the high school for me. So next slide, please. New teachers mentioned that they stay because they wanted to grow, but they needed more support and consistency across admin, across decisions that are made for curriculum and things that are implemented in the classroom. They wish that more teachers were at the table to have a voice in that say-so. And also the veteran teachers focused on legacy, discussing how they see those former students out in the world and they're like, what are you up to today? And just when they had them 10 or 15 years ago, and just seeing the growth is what they really spotlighted. So next slide, please. This is one of my favorite parts about the project. I did pose the question, if the community could know one thing about teaching, what would it be? And these were 3 quotes from teachers that really stood out to me. And one was, people don't see the emotional labor. They don't see the hours of sleep that we lose overthinking things at night. What could we have done better? Could we have taught that lesson better? Did I help little Johnny as much as I could have? Another quote was, we carry our kids home in our hearts, which I think all teachers can relate to. We definitely don't stop worrying about them after 3 p.m. When they're on the bus going home. So it's a consistent, constant care that we have. And then we worry about kids long after they leave our classrooms. And I think that's also true for all teachers. Of course, we want them to succeed, and we want to follow them along in that journey. So next slide, please. After interviewing 10 teachers, here were 3 of my takeaways. Every single one stays because of our students, and almost all believe that the work still matters deeply. And each participant said something that stuck with me. Which I really appreciated, because I got to interview teachers from all content areas across grades 5 through 12. So it was interesting to hear all of their different perspectives and how they approach it. So next slide, please. And this is just a fun slide here. This is one of the events that I got to work for Go Teach Kentucky at our Christmas at the Village event in Harlan, where I'm from. And luckily, there were a record 800 attendees at the event this year. And if you'll go to the next slide, please. I had a QR code that had a link to a survey that asked folks who were interested in becoming teachers if they would just scan the survey. And so post that, I have been in contact intermittently with those 15 folks that I got survey results from. And I've been sending them information about different colleges and teacher educator certification pathways and different things like that. So it's been good to step out and help in that capacity as well. So next slide, please. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, good morning, Commissioner Fletcher and the EPS board. My name is Caitlin Kelly. I am a 5th grade self-contained teacher with a focus on math, which is a bear right now, in Fayette County at Coventry Oak. Next slide, please. Just a little bit about me. That is my family. My husband is a former teacher as well. I got my bachelor's from EKU and my MAT from the University of Cumberland. I am finishing my 12th year right now in education. In roles, I've been in 1st grade, which I am not a 1st grade teacher. I'm just not. That is where I just know that. I was a 3rd grade teacher. I'm a 5th grade teacher, a curriculum coach, and a primary math consultant. I've worked in Perry, Madison, and Fayette counties, and currently at Coventry Oak. And so one of my biggest notable takeaways, and forgiveness now, is teachers versus the ESP board. Just some major themes. A lot what was already said. We stay because of the students. We don't stay for the testing. We don't stay for the work. We stay for the students. A reoccurring theme that makes teachers leave is the time and the balance. We voiced frustration about the paperwork, the required task, and some initiatives completing instructional time. Streamlining those expectations came up frequently. as something that would improve the experience. And the third theme was collaboration and community. Teachers talked about how much they leaned on their grade level teams, and if you have a bad team, like it makes or breaks your whole year. And how important it is to maintain a positive, supportive team culture. And we can all agree that that is something on every work that is important. Next slide, please. So the grade bands, I interviewed K2, 3, 5, and middle. Didn't get into the high school as much. Some of the there were some slight different priorities, but again, the major theme was we stay because of the students. The K2 teachers emphasized the need for additional help with behavior management routines. I mean, like I said, I am not a first grade teacher, and I can definitely empathize with them that the behavior was one of the biggest challenges. They discussed the emotional demands of early childhood and the need for constant support in general. 35, the group focused more on the workload, the test preparation, and thankfully with on-demand and Eddie Mechanics going away, maybe that workload will feel a little less daunting. Like I said, I teach 5th grade, so I'm really feeling it right now. And wanting to clarify around academic expectations, highlight the need for better alignment in curriculum and pacing. Middle school, they spoke frequently about student behaviors, that messy middle again. The motivation in the class sizes, they expressed a strong desire for professional development that felt actually practical and actually directed towards their subject area needs. A social studies teacher does not need what a math teacher needs. Next slide, please. So difference across career bands, career stages made a noticeable difference. New teachers consistently brought up needing that mentorship. You need that teacher down the hallway to lean on, the one who's got all the tips and the tricks. Clear communication and just reassurance that they're on the right track. You can feel very lonely in that classroom. Those 4 walls sometimes feel like they're just coming in on you. Middle career teachers, and this is kind of where I'm starting to fall, well, I feel, the group focused on workload, the burnout prevention, and just wanted to make a voice in that decision making. We've got that experience. We have those ideas. Let us be a point of, helping to make decisions that affect the actual school. And the veteran teachers, respect for their expertise. We know what we're doing. Consistency in leadership and notable frequent change initiatives and expectations are exhausting. From year to year, it's like the bar just gets raised a little bit more. They also emphasize that mentoring younger staff helps them stay in that career. It makes them want to stay in that position. And it helps us feel like we are actually a part of a leadership team. And it helps build a stronger culture. Next slide, please. So takeaway, overall, the first round of stay interviews reinforced how important communication, consistent relationships truly are for teachers. No matter the grade, the career stage, teachers want to feel supported and valued. A few notable takeaways from that is small change in support. Each career stage requires slightly different approaches, so tailoring support that matters, and strengthen collaboration and team. Ask for their input, simply providing a space that helps share them more and help them feel invested. So with that being said, though, I did interview a teacher, and this was my biggest takeaway. She has 13 years of experience in elementary ed, and that's where her degree is. She wanted to teach 7th grade this year. She calls the board, EPSB, and they told her she'd have to get a new master's degree. And that's a lot, especially for a career that's not the highest paid career. Asking that person to go back and get a new master's degree is a lot. That 13 years of experience should matter. Like nursing, they can go be an oncologist nurse, and then a year later can go be a pediatrics nurse. They don't have to go back and get a master's degree. So it's just one of the biggest takeaways for me. She wanted to teach 7th, but couldn't without a new master's degree. Next slide, please. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. Justin, thank you for the introduction, and to the EPSB board, thank you for this invitation. It's definitely an honor. As an educator, it is a privilege to have the opportunity to bring the voice of the classroom to this space. My name is Crystal Blair. I am here to sustain the voice. I'm a dedicated educator. I am a leader and a fierce advocate for student empowerment. For over 2 decades, I've had the privilege of working with children, their families, in guiding, supporting, and believing in their limitless potential. My passion lives at the intersection of literacy, cultural identity, and inclusion. I just don't teach, I create spaces where every child is seen, valued, and heard. I'm committed to inspire so that their voice can be, so that the voice can live. To help them understand that their story, their culture, and their identity, they matter. Because when students believe in themselves, they don't just reach their potential, they redefine it. Sustaining your voice. So what motivates teachers to stay in this classroom? I'm a teacher at JCPS. I'm currently going into my 23rd year of teaching, so I am a veteran teacher. At JCPS, the question that they ask us is, what is your why? And as a teacher, you have to stop and sometimes disregard the voices that you hear and listen to your own voice and ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? So the questions that have already been stated is, why do you stay in education? When did you know that you wanted to be a teacher? What is something you wish people would know? And what are some supports that your leadership team and administration can provide? So why stay in education? The poll that I took was that of the elementary school K-5, and the teachers that I interviewed, 33% of them had literally just started teaching. So they had less than 3 years in working in the teaching career. 46% of them had only taught between 4 to 10 years, and then 21% were that of what we state as veteran teachers. So they stated they wanted to stay because why? They wanted to make a difference. They enjoy working with children. Some stated that they had such a love for learning at a young age that themselves, they wanted to ignite the fire into other children and to beginning learners. Some of them stated, it's just my passion, it's my ministry, and that's where I am. This is my passion, this is what I was called to do. Some stated it's the money. Some stated that it's for stability. You have insurance. You have that structure. When did you know? One teacher stated they knew since they were a child that they wanted to be a teacher. And I thought about that. As young children, we play. Sometimes we want to be a doctor. We want to be a nurse, an NFL player. But they noticed at a young age, this is where their road was leading them. Another teacher stated that my teacher was the inspiration. That person poured into them and believed in them. So therefore they thought, this is what I'm gonna be. Someone stated, my wife guided me towards this profession. They actually had another career, but you know what? The wife spoke, so guess what? It is so. Also, another one stated, I volunteered at my son's preschool, and as I was there, as I was involved within the classroom, I realized that this is what I wanted to do. Something that we wish that the community would know is, number one, myself, I love diversity, I love inclusion, and I want the community to know that a lot of us come from different backgrounds, different cultures, and it's so beautiful when we can just come together and learn about each other's differences. Also, we want people to know that we really care for your students. I myself have a 9-year-old, and when I have programs and I invite the community, I want my child to meet the people that I invite in because I want that rapport with them. And I want them to know that we're here, we work together. Also, that teachers in our school put in a lot of effort to build relationships, to create meaningful learning experiences for students, and not just think that we're a babysitter, that we have the summers off. No, it's more than that. We don't want people to think that, take us for granted. One teacher said, yes, it looks nice, but when you really come within the four walls, people don't realize I get cussed out every day, that I get hit, that kindergartners are constantly running in and out of my classroom. They want people to know that all the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into being a good teacher is showing up. I show up every day for the students, and that we celebrate your child's growth like it's our own personal child. We celebrate their victory. Future teachers, if you could tell that future teacher in your classroom one thing, what would it be? It's life. Things get hard and oftentimes so overwhelming, but guess what? Keep pushing. As they say, life be life. But even though we're lifing, we got to keep moving. Someone said that I would suggest shadowing classrooms as soon as possible to get the experience and learn what you would be interested in teaching. What grade level? What subject? What career would you like to help these young learners move towards? Someone said the love of students. Make sure that they feel, and you notice this is so loved by all the teachers, because we do love your students and our students. Take it one day at a time. Nothing is forever, and we can only control ourselves. Focus on relationships. Teaching public schools is twice as much money as Catholic schools. Another teacher stated, make changes if you need to. Do not be afraid to do what's best for your emotional and mental stability. One teacher flat out just looked at me and said, tell them, don't do it. Remember that teaching is a job that's filled with lots of bad days, but also a lot of good moments. The reality of teaching has changed since we were little and in school. But even when the days are hard and stressful, there is so much good that happens and oftentimes is overlooked. What's your peace? Think about your inner peace. What do you look forward to when you come to work each day? Caitlin stated having that rapport with your team. That is so essential, building that bond. Seeing your students and receiving love for them. I love when I walk in the morning. Good morning, buenos dias, ni hao, ni ama, whatever the language is, and getting those hugs. I look forward, and the teacher stated, working with small groups of students because they feel like that it's meaningful, and those interactions are so worth it. All of their students are in a good, safe space. They know that they're getting fed, they know that they have clothes, and that that's their inner peace. Also, they stated they absolutely love their coworkers. They stated they love the smiles, and also they look forward to supporting their students who really want to learn. They look forward to seeing and developing their growth. What changes would you make? Obviously, the money, as well as the resources. Sometimes we just don't have the resources that we need. We're taught to teach certain curriculums. Those curriculums, sometimes we feel like is not what's beneficial for our students. But guess what? Because it's mandated, we have to teach it. So they stated more resources. Someone stated more time, more planning, more time just to prepare. Also that of improving behavior in the classroom, as well as outside of the classroom. And also the supportive admin who spend time in classrooms so that they understand what's going on, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And having those real conversations, not just yelling and telling them what to do, but constructive criticism. How can we work together to make this better? You can go on to the next slide. What is the support that your leadership team or admin could provide? Behavior support, reconstructing the PLCs, feeling supported and appreciated. Just sometimes just having the pat on the back just to say thank you. More counseling for students who are troubled. I know I work in JCPS, and there was one point in time where they were talking about removing mental health counselors out of our schools. And that would have been a very detrimental move because we see in this time and era post-COVID where there are students that have situations where they need a safe place. They need someone to talk to. And right now, mental instability is on a high. So having the opportunity to have more counseling for our students, because having those extra bodies in our classrooms, in our school, it makes our students feel safe. Also, allowing there to be more control, support teachers who ask for help, getting in the classroom to see what's going on, being proactive, asking the teacher, do you need a break right now? We would love for the admin to come in and say, you know what, 5 minutes, just go get you something to drink, decompress. We would love to have that. Again, the behavior support, whether there's extreme behaviors, it's okay if that teacher at that moment may need to just move away and not later looked at as they're not a strong teacher or they couldn't endure, but they just needed that space. And that's something we would hope and want our admin to be able to see. Something needs to be done is what the teacher stated. Teachers need to feel appreciated. And again, what is your why? JCPS, our statement, we are here to inspire, uplift, and empower. We have over 100,000 students. We're here to help them reach their full potential. So again, I thank you for this time, and I thank you for allowing me to be the voice.
Any questions for our Go Teach ambassadors?
Go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Okay. Well, Tyler, Crystal, and Caitlin, I just want to thank you guys for giving your time.
Thank you.
I was Go Teach ambassador, repping a little. I didn't even know that today, but 5 years ago. So as you guys know, Justin Edwards and that entire team, the work they do for the state and lifting up this program is so awesome. But the three of you giving your already pressed time to serve in this role, to uplift the profession. I hope you just know how much it means to all of us and to the profession, and just a great representation of your information today. I do want to just real quick, Caitlin, I so appreciate your vulnerability to share that last comment.
Thank you.
I do want to make sure, just because that is a public message we've been kind of battling for years, and I do think this board, truly in particular, made up of active classroom teachers, administrators, post-secondary roles. We really don't want that relationship to feel like teachers versus the EPSB.
Sure.
And I know you weren't saying that.
100%.
Yes.
I wanted to resonate that as someone like myself who has 12 years, I shouldn't be getting stuck within like that primary row when I would when I have the skills, I have the core foundation, I have the education to move up into middle school. Now, would there be maybe some on-the-job training? Absolutely, would be a great idea. But just requiring that another master's degree is a lot to ask.
I totally hear you. Without getting into specifics.
Some
on,
some
yeah.
flexibility.
Yeah,
is all I'm
just,
asking.
Sure. And I absolutely hear you. On that note, we created a certification task force that's been doing some really great work and going to be coming with recommendations. So I'm anxious to see.
I'm here all day.
Love it.
All my comments, I'm here.
Love it. Love it. No,
I'm only like 20 minutes down the road. I can be here at any point.
And I want to be
just
clear.
let me know.
I was truly thanking you for saying that. I just wanted to
thank
make
you.
sure that the messaging was very clear from us.
Yes.
That we are doing everything we can to uplift the profession, help with certification changes that make sense, and protect the integrity of who's in the
I
classroom.
know I can't go to high school and teach chemistry. I know that.
Yeah.
But I know that I could teach seventh
Yes.
grade math. I've taught math for 11 years. I have a math certificate. I know I could teach seventh grade math.
And I think, if I may,
Yeah, please.
Chair, I think our teachers are going to be very pleased with some of the recommendations that are coming out of our certification structure work groups about trying to give teachers more flexibility about what they can, and again, give them those opportunities. For example, one of the things we've heard for years, why does a biology teacher only teach biology at the high school? So what do we look at changing and working with our EPPs? How do we change that certification so they can have an area of concentration of sorts so they can teach multiple science, but also too, Can a high school teacher drop down and teach 6th, 7th grade math, 5th
Probably.
grade math? Or can an elementary teacher move? So those are all kinds of questions that are being asked in the structured work groups, and we have some great recommendations that'll be coming.
So when will we expect to see those changes?
I think they're being presented to us today.
Today.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm only 20 minutes down the road.
I was
Like,
like,
I
I'm pretty sure that's on the agenda for today.
so.
Yeah.
So you were giving us a little bit of foreshadowing.
Oh, good. It's just like it's hard as like a college student. Like, yeah, I want to teach P5 my whole career, and then realize you're not a P5 teacher, and that messy middle, which I do love that messy middle.
I love it too.
And realize that's your calling. Just asking that second master's degree, that's a lot. That's a financial burden to a family. That's not just oneself. That is a whole family financial burden. So I just hope that that's what I came across. I'm not saying that you all are doing anything wrong. It's just some flexibility. It's hard to get trapped in that P5 range. When I know that I could go teach a 7th grade math class, maybe, like I said, some additional on-the-job training, but another master's degree is a little far-fetched. Thank you.
I will just jump in and say that, listen, a lot of the stuff that you all were saying very much resonates with me. You can hear me. I have that voice.
For our audience at home.
Yeah.
They wanna hear you.
And, as Taylor was presenting, I found myself like getting emotional at the things that you were bringing up of why we are here and what we do, right? And I think that is what you all are finding in those stay interviews, right? We are here because we care, because we are passionate about it, but we can't be martyrs and we can't be saints, and we are professionals.
Absolutely.
That should be treated and respected as such. And there has been a cultural, societal shift that I think from the outside looking in becomes harder and harder for us to combat every single day. And so a lot of the things that you all brought up of what I wish the community knew, what I wish that the parents knew, very much resonate with me that, I had a kid who was in the ER last night who bull riding and has messaged me like, are you going to be there today? And, just all the things that emotional load that we carry that is far beyond my math content, right? Like, we're working on quadratics. I got it. But also, I need my baby who didn't have a place to sleep last night to know that they matter and that someone cares. And I think that is really hard to put a value to, right? How do you value that? How do we capture the importance of that to not just help people to stay, but also encourage more to come? And I don't know what the answers are. And I think we need a lot of help from people beyond our classroom walls. But I am grateful for what you all have done and what you bring forward. I wanted to touch on your. I'm like, CJ, I really appreciate you bringing it up because I think that until I served on this board, EPSB was either only the person that I like the people that helped me figure out how I could become a teacher because I came as an option 6 person, right?
Same. I was an MAT.
So,
Yep.
I mean, I think honestly, the more and more people we poll, there's a lot more option 6 and alternative folks out there than what everybody realizes. And so they were very helpful for me in coming and going, how can I become a teacher? And honestly, the route that they first gave me of, I think, option 1, the exceptional work experience, I knew that I really wouldn't have a lot of job opportunities that way, right? Because people get in and die in those positions. And so I had to craft and think through what did that mean. And I remember being very frustrated that I have 2 bachelor's degrees and I have a master's degree already. And but why can't I just teach, right?
Exactly.
But I also understand that as someone who recognized that my bachelor's and master's were not in the area I wanted to teach, that I needed to then get a second master's in that. I think that whoever your story is about, right? I would somewhat say and hope that through the website, through Diego, through all of the things that are available and that amazing staff, like sometimes the answer is, yeah, you got to get you're not certified here. I think I've talked to Todd about someone who is MSD certified and the highly qualified route for LBD, and that isn't an option. Does it need to be an option? I don't know. That's not an answer I can make, but I think that's something that could be discussed, explored, with people who are qualified to make that decision, right? But sometimes I think it is a matter of going back and also, okay, if this isn't working, is there a different way for me? And the answer may be yes, right? It may be, oh, well, we didn't realize that you were this close. Maybe highly qualified would be a route for you. Or maybe it is one of the CEO rank changes, or maybe it's one of the 5,000 options that I think that are out there. But also it may be another master's, right? And so I think just like with our students sometimes, if this path doesn't work, how do we figure out to still get around and go where we want to be and continue to work through it? I don't know if that individual went that far. I don't know, right? But from an anecdotal story, I would like to hope to say, like, did they check this option? Did they check this option? Did they check this option?
And I don't know those answers, of course.
Right.
But it was just like hitting the wall.
Yeah.
Like, I know I want to go teach this, and I have this amount of experience, and that should count for something. That's a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of money and a lot of stress.
I agree. I agree.
And like back to my point, like we don't ask nurses to go back. They can just move a lateral move. But she was looking at 13 years of experience and was just hit the wall.
Yeah.
Like I would love to move, but I can't because I can't afford another master's degree. My family can't take on another degree.
Yeah. So, I mean, whoever, like, if you have contact with that person, I would just say, like, I would check back out and, did you try these things, right? And maybe the answer is yes, maybe it's no.
Sure.
But sometimes we don't know the questions to ask. I feel like I'm guilty of that a lot, right? Like, I just don't even know that that's an option available to ask. So, anyways, thank you all so very much.
So I'm
Thank
gonna
you
need
for the
I need a
opportunity.
picture of this. I don't see my name up there in front of Katie very often. I need a picture of that.
Listen,
Yeah,
I got a picture of you all. But
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I'm
but
gonna
I'll
need
do
that.
it for you. I'll do it for you.
So we have it here in
I
front
need
of
to
us.
send that
too.
to my principal.
Yeah, I'll do that for you. Do you guys?
Like I said, I don't
do
see
you
this
care
thing
to put their
often.
names up real quick?
Thank you.
Listen, I'll take a picture for you.
Oh, listen, I'm all about it.
Appreciate the opportunity.
But
to
thank
be
you,
here.
yes.
Oh, it's-
Thank you.
While we're putting slides up, I'll take pictures for you.
Okay, so I would just like to say, as one of the administrative representatives on the board, that we often hear about educator prep programs, and we often see the discipline side of educators. And so to have 3 educators sit before us and talk to us in a way that we can relate to and understand is extremely valuable and extremely important. And I think it highlights the fact that we are a community of educators, but we are at all different paths on our journey, and we all come to this from a different road. And to remind us that collectively we have the same goal, but individually we have different needs. And so thank you. Thank you for speaking to us. It's the first time, I think, since 2020, since I've been on this board, where we've had educators sit in front of, active serving educators sit in front of us. And what you shared is powerful to me, especially. Thank you.
Other comments?
I will send these to Justin. Okay, thank you.
I will make one other comment, or actually 2 comments. One, the beautiful thing, in my opinion, about the Education Professional Standards Board is you're talking to a group of practitioners, either been in the classroom currently, an administrator, or teaching those to be administrators, teaching those to be teachers. So when you tell the stories, it resonates with everyone at this table because we've lived that. And one of the stories that really that you mentioned was there's always stories. My biggest regret as an educator is not keeping that daily journal. Because first of all, I'd have to sell it as fiction because no one would believe it. We would change all the names and everything like that, but you'd have to sell it as fiction. but also too, we always have those stories that stick with us. As a matter of fact, I have a rubber band ball that sits on my table that is over 2 decades old. But there's a student behind that rubber band ball. And one of these days, I'll tell you the story if you'd like to hear it. But we all have those multiple special moments that keep us in the profession. And it's always a student is the reason for that. So again, we appreciate your work. We appreciate your suggestions. Appreciate just being ambassadors for the profession. So thank you so much. Dr. Brewer, anything else from OELE before we move on? Okay.
That was well spent OELE.
Yes, it
Absolutely.
was.
Let's
Thank
give
you
our.
very much.
Thank you guys so much.
Well, one of the comments, I've been in a couple of different committee meetings over the past week, and while we've had a great time this in the past few months, we had some questions that went around. What's your favorite part of spring in Kentucky? And, you know, everybody's talking about the flowers, the horses, and then my answer was Sine Die. But with that being said, there was a lot of positive things that happened within this session. We're very thankful for some things that we'll navigate through. But again, we do have Dr. Brian Perry, who is our Director of Government Relations here, to talk about our legislative update. And I'll close out with a discussion on House Bill 257. So, Dr. Perry, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Before we get started, I will say that this was a pretty good session overall. I think we had a lot more involvement with members and as it relates to conversations about bills, providing feedback. Dr. Brewer and her team, I think, had input on almost all the bills we're going to talk about, as well as a whole bunch that didn't get across the finish line. So very busy session. We tracked about 300 bills that got filed. So it's a kind of an overwhelming amount of legislation that gets filed in budget sessions, and it's a long 60 days. So glad to see the end of it. With that, we'll get right into it. So happy to say, I'm sure you all are all aware, but just want to make sure that you all knew that all of the appointments and reappointments that need to get confirmed did get confirmed. It usually happens on the last day, so it's always a bit of a waiting game, but those are done. So congratulations to all of those folks. Next slide. So you might want to stop clapping because now we're going to move on to House Bill 10.
I was wondering.
So one of the real well-kept secrets of the session came out in a late amendment to House Bill 10, and it's going to require the Senate confirmation for a lot of folks as it relates to KDE and this board. The KBE and EPSB chairs will now require Senate confirmation, and to be clear, that's on top of the initial confirmation, right? So it's essentially a second confirmation. SCAC will also have their members and chair confirmed now. Again, I don't know that anybody really heard any whispers of this, which is pretty strange for the annex. But anyway, I think there are some questions now as to whether this gets challenged in court, particularly by the governor's office, the executive branch, because I believe that their cabinet secretaries will now require confirmation. So we may see this get challenged. If so, I think there's some questions about whether that potential ruling would impact these parts of the bill as well. So I think there's some pending questions, so stay tuned on House Bill 10. I'm sure that we will keep you informed as we hear more about potential litigation on this one. So next slide, please. Senate Bill 4. So this is one that we were involved with throughout the process. It was initially a 5-year principal induction and training program. As you all know, KPIP went away before my time, and I'm in my 5th year here now. And so we've been sort of talking around the edges about a new reimagined KTIP and PIP since I've been around. And so this was really the first, I think, serious bite at the apple. It got down to being a 4-year model. So the first 2 years would be with KDE. The second year would be with the Kentucky Chamber Foundation in Truist in year 3. And then in year 4, it would be an optional year with a menu of options. Now, that's all great. I think we would have preferred to see a 3-year, but certainly we're expecting it to come kind of out as a 4-year based on what we saw between the Senate and House versions. The real problem here is the funding. So they appropriated $1 million in each year of the biennium. So this is a cohort model. So that 3rd year doesn't really need to be funded until the next biennium. because that cohort wouldn't be doing that truest experience until the summer after the next budget passes. However, we did say that for our 2 years, we were estimating about $2.5 million a year, so a pretty significant shortage in terms of what we thought we needed and what we got. So I'm not sure how we're going to work through that. Commissioner, you have any?
Yeah, if you look at, we have about 150 new principals, and that's rough. That's a very rough estimate. About 150 new principals a year, and one of the requirements of the program would have a mentoring system. Well, that costs money. So, but also too, it would also cover the required trainings and anything that we would do in those first 2 years. But then the third year would be that truest model that were their leadership cohort that they have in the third year. And again, just like Dr. Perry said, since it is a cohort model, that part doesn't really need to be funded. But even with the $1 million, that's less than half of what we think it would take to fully implement this even for the first 2 years. So we have some decisions to make on how to implement what we can with that $1 million budget.
This also, oh, go ahead.
And you may have addressed this, is the cohort, is it mandatory? And also, is it like picking up if you're a year 2 principal right now, is this going to affect you automatically start in the first section?
No, I think so. So first, I think the intent was to be mandatory. Now, how that coincides with the lack of funding, I don't know. I think the second question is no. I think it'll start with new principals that are entering their first year come fall. Okay. So I think we may see some clarification either in the interim or potentially just next session. Some sort of cleanup bill that may need to be done to address some of those questions, given the lack of full funding. So Senate Bill 4 also picked up some JCPS language, sort of related to a Supreme Court ruling not too long ago that limits the General Assembly's ability to single out districts. So JCPS was the only district that had more than 5 board members. So an amendment to Senate Bill 4 takes them down to 5 board members and provides the initial maps for those new districts. Next slide.
And you can see how the two are related, correct?
Yeah.
The JCPS board and the training, sorry. That's for that. Yeah. I'm looking at pattern recognition. As a math teacher,
there's a lot of squishing that went on late in the session.
Yes.
So Senate Bill 263, it looks like I left off a couple of bullet points here, but this was a follow-up to Senate Bill 207 from last session. That was the bill that took us from districts of innovation to schools of innovation. So 207 implements a funding source for schools of innovation. It starts with a pilot project in Covington Independent, partnering with Educate NKY, funded at $2.5 million. There's another $5 million appropriated for 2 additional projects that will be to be determined by the department. So a big pot of money for this project. I think there are some things to be decided as it relates to how this is going to work. So like I said, 207 was from last year. So we've had conversations with districts related to this idea of schools of innovation. We'll see kind of where it goes from there. I think as it relates to this board, there's some provisions that do allow them to waive both. So it allows the state board to waive some statutes and things that are under this board's authority, like teacher licensure. So up to 25% of teachers can be non-certified through the waiver process for the schools of innovation. That's kind of one example of where that authority may get a little messy. I think the language does say that the state board will do that in collaboration with or after consulting with EPSB. So maybe some things we have to kind of sort out. I know that the chairs of both boards have been having calls, so that may be something that is part of those calls going forward as we get those waivers coming in. So, next slide. So House Bill 4 is a broad anti-grooming bill. It doesn't just apply to teachers. I'm not sure what happened here, but I'm missing some bullet points again. See if I can remember them off the top of my head.
Do you create transitions that are not working?
No, I don't know. All right, so House Bill 4, one big thing it does is define define grooming behavior. So that's an important step, right? That's something that we have tried to do in previous bills that did not get across the finish line. It also includes carve-outs for communicating with a minor for any lawful or legitimate purpose, including but not limited to teaching curriculum on human sexuality or STDs, as provided in KRS 158. 1415, the use of a traceable communication system by a school district employee or volunteer. I'll note there that that also got cleaned up in House Bill 67. So I know there were a lot of questions about traceable communications as it relates to Senate Bill 181 from last session. So that, I think, has all been resolved now with House Bill 67 of this session. Communications with a minor to determine if a minor is dependent, neglected, or abused, and any conversation with a minor that is part of a person's job or volunteer-related duties. So that's House Bill 4. I think EPSB was generally supportive of this as it moved through the process. This is one we were able to weigh in on before the session. The sponsor reached out and got feedback from Dr. Brewer and her team very early in the process. And again, I think that's a sign that things are improving in terms of our relationships across the river. So hopefully we'll see more of that as we move forward. And next slide. So House Bill 253 is another twofer. So it started out as a prohibition on 3Qing. That part remains. However, a Senate committee sub added the sponsor's House Bill 102, which is of interest to this board. So Chair Tipton has tried, I guess since I've been around, to get a misconduct bill across the finish line. I think 2 sessions ago, it got hung up in concurrence, meaning it actually got past both chambers. They just couldn't quite resolve the differences before sine die. So this version really focuses on non-disclosure agreements relating to misconduct. And I wanted to point out kind of where this board's roles play into that. So it will require districts to request from EPSB all information related to those conduct reference checks. And it gives you a pretty tight timeline there of 10 working days to satisfy those requests. And with that, I wanted to mention that, we are heading into a short session. Those short sessions were originally designed to be cleanup sessions, right? So I would just say that as you all work through this bill, as this bill goes into effect, it does have an emergency clause, so it'll be in effect quickly. As you all start to get these requests and process those turnarounds, that might be something that we need to go back to the sponsor at some point and see if we need to stretch that out to make it a little more manageable. So as you all start to do that, just keep in mind that I do think that there's an opportunity if we need to go back to the sponsor with potential cleanup, especially as it relates to just the implementation. Because obviously I think you all are very supportive of this idea and have been with most versions of his misconduct bills over the years. But as it goes into effect now, keep in mind that those short sessions are a time that we can certainly ask for cleanup if we need to. So that's House Bill 253 as it relates to you all. Next slide. So House Bill 727 was the big omnibus bill. This bill started out as one of your all's cleanup items, and that was to replace the KEP system with the statewide job portal using existing certification fees. That's a request that we put out, I think, for the first time kind of late last session. Didn't get any traction, but everybody we talked to seemed to think this is a great idea. So that was the initial filing of 727. It ended up having, I think, a total of 6 or 7 bills added. So the ones that relate to you all are that KEPS replacement, which I do think is going to be a really big deal. I'm very excited to see that go into effect. It codifies some regulatory language there relating to the 5-year teaching certificate. So that was done in regulation here recently, but they wanted to codify that, so that is now in statute. And then I also just want to make sure that you all were aware that the school psychologist interstate licensure compact also became part of 727. I don't think there's any issues there. OELE weighed in on that compact when it was a separate bill, and I do think that you all retain your ability to oversee those licensures So even with the compact in place. So I don't think there's any concerns, but wanted to make sure that you all were still aware that that was added in. And I think that's everything. So that's the 3-minute drill on what happened over the last 60 legislative days. So I did not put any bills on here that did not pass. There were a number of bills that would have impacted EPSB related to different things. Some of them got out of one chamber but didn't move in the other one. I think it's likely we see some of those get refiled. Happy to talk about those more if you all would like. Otherwise, I will turn it over to the commissioner to talk about House Bill 257.
And any questions for Brian before we move on to 257?
I might have missed it. 181, did that get any cleanup language?
67.
That's House Bill 67. So
I might have been
so
out.
somewhat confusingly, the sponsor of 181 filed her cleanup as Senate Bill 181 this session. That moved over to the House, but the House filed House Bill 67, which was basically all of that bill of 181 this year, plus a few additional items, things like covering work-based learning. That was one of the things that got added into House Bill 67. So it went covered a little more than the original sponsor's bill. So that's what's all in. But I think 67 covers all of the things that we had concerns with. So happy to see that get done.
Other questions?
Just more remark to say, thanks to the work you do, Brian, and the whole team. I think we truly did forge a lot of positive relationships, I think, into the session. I'm proud of what this board set as legislative priorities, which helped guide a lot of those conversations. And I'm just excited to hopefully engage with that as we, before you know it, are here again in the short session next year. So.
Well, and I should have thanked you all as well as chair and co-chair. You all have done some of that hard work of in the interim going to events, to dinners and things like that, and engaging with the legislators kind of outside of the session and building those relationships. And I think we're seeing the results of that when we get those calls to come talk about bills before they get filed, to weigh in on them early on, and it's critical. So thank you all for your support in that role.
It's just like the classroom. Those relationships matter. They really do. And again, I do want to thank Dr. Perry and the entire KDE team for the work, but also too EPSB and particularly Vice Chair Fry and Chair Snell. We've worked a lot to build those relationships throughout. But to kind of give you a little bit, let's talk just a little bit about 257. To kind of let you see the pathway, then I'll talk a little bit about it also. When you start out in 257, we went through all the Cool Council, we went through the board, we went through 2 years of work of putting together, went through 8 different, models you could say. Finally, we got to 4. We did 4 prototypes, 4 frameworks, and then we got down to where we took that full proposal to legislators. We started in August. We met with every single Senate education member, met with everyone, and then we also met with House education members, and we met with leadership, and this gave them the original proposal. That's 8 months. We started working probably 7 months before to try to get that information over. So that's just the start of the work, and then session starts. After going through and talking to everyone, talking to people during session, we got a call to come over to talk to a potential bill sponsor. So after looking for bill sponsors, we had one suggested to us in the House. And so they took the original bill, a 2.5-hour meeting. There were things that were cut. There were things that were added. Some things that didn't make it in, which I'm thankful for. And then another 2.5-hour meeting to get a final proposal with the bill sponsor, who is Representative Payne, who is an ATC vice principal. So it's good to have an educator there that knows what type of impact this could be. So that's just to get it started. So we have a bill sponsor, passes in the House, goes through an education committee, goes to the House floor, passes, goes over to the Senate. Senate makes some changes. There's some language that's added in there about reporting. It started off being a part of the accountability model, now it's reporting. Then it goes back to the House for concurrence. The House didn't concur, so it goes to free conference. Free conference, and then it goes on to, in free conference is where they start making all the changes. So there were some changes that needed to be made in free conference, and after free conference, then it goes back for passage. It passes on both floors. So that's one bill. just to follow the pathway, and that's covering several months, not to mention just, getting text at 10 o'clock at night to say, okay, what exactly does this say in the bill? What does this say? What should be in there? What should not be in there? So again, a lot of work just to get it to that point by thousands of people across the Commonwealth. And then to get it in front of legislators is so important. So I will say before I get into 257, another update from us that has some impact for several of you around the table is we did finish our first administration of the SAT. So very thankful for that. It seemed to go very well across the Commonwealth. We had several positive comments, including the flexibility administration. With SAT, you have a 6 weeks window that a school district can select. It doesn't have to be given on a Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. It can be given at a time selected by others. We also have free resources for parents. We've had a lot of positive comments about that. 7 to 8 free practice tests. The test itself is adaptive. The test, if they get a correct answer, they get a more difficult question, and it kind of zeroes into where the students are. And then also, too, this is all done in saving the Commonwealth somewhere between $300,000 and $350,000 a year. So we're looking at millions of dollars over the life of the contract. So very thankful that we had our first SAT administration, and that seemed to have gone really well. But now I'll go into 257. The new accountability system, just as a reminder, has 2 divisions, if you will, 2 categories. The very first category is the state accountability that meets federal requirements. For those of us around the table, think of that as the formula that we use to calculate the CSI schools. Who are the bottom 5%? Of course, also, how do we calculate who are the blue schools, the red schools, the yellow, green, orange, all that. So that portion is the state accountability portion that meets federal requirements. To me, the most exciting part is the local accountability, which is now called Local Indicators of Quality in statute, that really gives a lot of initiative, a lot of flexibility for districts to do some added things to really, we've said for so long, how many times have you heard in this board meeting, maybe knows, that students are so much more than a test score? This accountability system gives us that opportunity to prove that. We don't have to have the proof, but I think the outside community does. But now, as far as the state accountability piece for the CSI calculation, as mentioned earlier, one of the big goals was to reduce state testing. On-demand writing and also editing mechanics is basically pushed towards local. So we're looking for writing across the curriculum, policies on how does a district want to assess writing. That's up to the district now. How do you assess writing? You've been assessing writing already. I'm sure that you could come up with a better system than we can at KDE to assess the writing of students. But keep in mind, we still have constructed responses in assessment. So our math test still has writing within it. Our social studies test still has writing within it. So we still have reading, science, social studies, and math that goes together to be a part of that formula for CSI calculation. And again, constructed responses are a part of that. One of the biggest moves within this was to go from change to growth when it comes to state accountability. Instead of looking at comparing 2 cohorts, like if you go up 5 points in the math section and with your 3rd and 4th, 5th graders, then you not only get that score, but you get another 5 points added on for the change. That's the way it was before. So it's really looking at cohorts, and you really, if you had a decrease, you essentially had that decrease doubled. If you had an increase, you also had the increase doubled. So the change was, to me, was very complex of how it was calculated and what it looked like. But instead of change, now we're looking at individual student growth. Where did you get the child, and where did you take the child? Now, we already have a committee together to look at how do we implement that. We had a change individual student growth, probably 2017. How can we improve that product, if you will, to make sure that we have a good system for growth as it moves forward? But again, where did you get the child? Where did you take the child? As opposed to looking at how many points did this group of kids go up this year versus last year. Also, too, something that has probably one of the things that's caused a little bit of angst across the state is the removal of the safety and climate survey, and it's been replaced with chronic absenteeism. And for those of you around the table, chronic absenteeism is if a student misses 10% or more of the school time, excused or unexcused, then the student is considered chronically absent. So if you have a student, we're 100 days in, they missed 10 days, and they come on day 101, they were chronically absent on day 100, but on day 101, they're no longer chronically absent. So we'd have to look at the end of the year, what percentage of our students have missed 10% or more, and then that becomes a part of the overall accountability model in the state accountability that meets federal needs, or federal requirements. It is up to the Kentucky Board of Education to say what percentage. Like that survey was 4% of the overall accountability model before, so the board would have that flexibility to state what percentage chronic absentee would be. Moving over to the local, and there's other parts I'd be happy to answer questions about, but the local indicators of quality, we affectionately call local accountability. It's not mandated. Okay, in the beginning, it was mandated that every district have a local accountability model. Then it went to trigger language, where if 60% of the districts were to get a local accountability model, then within 2 years, all districts have a local accountability model. Honestly, I like where this is now, because now we have people that want to have buy-in, that want to be a part of the local accountability model, and we can build a better base, a better foundation than what we have now by those that are very enthusiastic about the work. And then others can see the promise in it. And then hopefully that grows as we move forward. So it allows students to demonstrate grade-appropriate content, knowledge, skills, and real-world applications. Again, students are so much more than a test score. It also requires that districts put together community teams, whether it be local employers, whether it be representatives, government officials, where it could be faith leaders, students, teachers, to say, what exactly do we expect from a student when they cross the stage in our high school? And we see a lot of districts already that have local accountability models. We have districts that have local accountability models that may have up to 7 pillars. The very first one typically is student achievement. It's not only state testing, but it's maybe their MAP, STAR, or I-READY scores put into that, but also how are they demonstrating their learning through profiles of a learner? How are they demonstrating how they're communicating, collaborating, problem solvers, critical thinkers, all the things that we see in those profile of learners across the state. As a matter of fact, I always refer back to Jefferson County and their journey to success and what they see with their profile of a learner. It's really good to see those defenses of learning. As a matter of fact, we've said several times, as part of this local accountability process, we see students who are doing defenses of learning as seniors that are getting job offers when they walk out of these defenses of learning. Visited Beechwood. Tremendously impressed with what they're doing with, for example, I'll give one quick example. You had a group of students that was putting together essentially an advertising, selling hats for Cincinnati Bengals, that they had to put together the hat design, sell it to I think one of the offensive linemen that was sponsoring the group, but they also had to pick a charity that was the charity of their choice to say, we not only are designing this hat, this is the charity and why we've chosen this charity. They do essentially a Shark Tank with the offensive lineman. I apologize, I can't remember the gentleman's name. But then you had students that were selected for that hat design. Another one at Beechwood was there is a haunted house. A haunted ship. You want to have to help me, CJ.
Because it's USS Nightmare.
Thank you. The USS Nightmare. You had students in elementary school that designed one of the characters, that one of the rooms would be designed around the character. They had to tell the backstory of the character. They had to basically go through and give all the information, design what the character looked like. Then, essentially another Shark Tank type situation, a group of students were selected to have that design of the character. And then not only that, they got to go to the ship to see the person putting the makeup on the character that they designed. How much different is that as opposed to how did you do on the math test? Again, we fully believe that math, reading, science, social studies are very important. You have to have the foundational skills, but what's more important is how do you apply that? And where do you see the real world? To give students that type of experience where they're going and presenting to local community members, the House of Rama in Spencer County from our Michelle Gross, who is one of the finalists for Kentucky for National Teacher of the Year, by the way, where they're designing homes and letting local architects, builders, contractors to evaluate those and say, these are issues with your design, this is the mathematics behind it. How much different is that? Where they're actually working with community members to learn more about the application of mathematics, the application of geometry, the application of just presenting and being a communicator, a collaborator. But all that goes together into local accountability, and now this is in statute. That was a huge step to have this actually local indicators of quality in statute to give us this opportunity to make this spread. As a matter of fact, we've been doing this work for a while. I want to make a comment on Dr. Foster and Sarah Snipes, the Office of Continuous Improvement and Support, with the Division of Innovation within that, has a local accountability guidebook and toolkit that is, if you're interested as a school district to get into this work, it gives you action steps. How do you define success for students? Then and at the end, how do you define success for the district? And then also, too, how do you communicate that with the people around you? We also have a series where we're highlighting different districts. Shelby County has we have a video on Shelby County. We have a video on Rockcastle County, and now working on a video on Kenton County as part of their local accountability model to let people see what that looks like. So again, very excited about that. And then at the last moment, we actually had funding that came along with this, not initially, but there is a cost offset within that. If a district wants to get into this work, there's a $15,000, and it's a small amount, but to have $15,000 was $15,000 more than we asked for originally. So all total, if every district, which is honestly, it will take you more than 1 year to have an effective local accountability model. I think Bullitt County was in year 3 before they actually started collecting data. They spent 2 years saying, what are our pillars? What do we believe in? Rockcastle County, I think they were in their 4th year before they displayed their data. But $2.57 million, $2,575,000 has been allocated to help with districts with that work. So we're very thankful for that. Again, 2 parts, and let me say one more thing. The local accountability is not part of the formula for the state accountability. That was some of the pushback that we got. We were, well, we're just going to have people to do an accountability model that plays the game and gets them a better score for the state accountability. No, there's no score. Whatever the district wants to assign to their score, it is independent. Honestly, most districts don't really assign themselves a score. It's more about where are we in growth? How are we showing that a student is becoming a better communicator? There may be numbers tied to that, and if there is, they display that data. But also, too, how do you make sure students are getting those type of vibrant learning opportunities that we talk about each day? So that's 257. Very excited about where we are. Did we land on the moon? No, but we're orbiting. Artemis 2 was a good segue into a good little bit of advertising for us, I guess you could say. So I'll take any questions about 257.
I just had a question with the chronic absenteeism. You talked about that was whether excused or unexcused. How does the educational enhancement opportunity, is that still considered a part of the excuses, or is that a different vein in and of itself?
If I'm not mistaken, the educational enhancement opportunities consider a student as present.
Okay.
As they're in class. So it's, if you have an educational enhancement opportunity, it's not absence at all. Scotty, would you?
Correct, yes. And I wanted to say good work with this, Dr. Fletcher. However, I think chronic absenteeism would be a great thing to measure for your culture and climate of a high school and middle school possibly, but for it to also impact an elementary school where I think that's more of a societal issue, and for elementary to be held accountable for a child that can't take themselves to school, that does have some concern. So I hope that you relay that to the board.
Well, and as far as our counter argument with legislators was, schools are already impacted on funding. So if your attendance, if you have low attendance, you've already got an incentive to make sure kids are in class financially. But also, too, we all know that if a student misses one day, it takes you like 3 days to get them called back up. As a teacher, when I missed class as a teacher, it seemed like I was behind for a week after missing out. So there's in elementary, that's not really controlled by the student as much as it is whether or not the parents bring them to school. So what will happen is what the board will decide on now is what percentage. It has to be in there, but the percentage would be decided by the board.
And we were, I think, one of 14 states that did not previously include it as part of the state accountability model. So I think 36 states already had it included, and that was a big argument in favor of including it.
Other questions? But great point, Scott. Thank you for that. I'll turn it back over to our chair.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher. Ms. Chesser, has anyone signed up for open speak? All right. To highlight the amazing work that is taking place in the educator preparation at our Kentucky colleges and universities, we continue the EPP Spotlight. Today, we welcome representatives from Morehead State University and Spalding University to share some of the work taking place at their institutions. We want to thank both universities for joining us this morning. We'll first hear from Morehead State University. Let's welcome Dr. Nicola Mason, and Dean of Education, and Dr. Tim Simpson, Department Chair and Professor. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much. Is this on? Good morning to the members of the board, Education and Professional Standards Board, and thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you some of the very exciting things that are happening at Morehead State. I am Dr. Nicola Mason, and I'm Dean of the Volgeneau College of Education, which is one of 4 colleges at Morehead State University. But it is also the founding college. And I like to remind everybody in every room that we are the heart and soul of campus. In fact, Ginger Hall, which accommodates all our programs, our teacher prep, undergraduate, graduate, school counseling, and leadership, is actually located right at the center of campus, the heart of campus. I would just like to ask a quick question to the board with a show of hands. Who is a graduate of Morehead State? At least 2. I love it. Thank you so much. Wonderful. I also share a proud alumni of Morehead State University. Almost 20 years to the day, I came to Morehead State as an international student. Morehead State has opened doors for me professionally in ways that are incredibly profound. And I understand and connect with the mission of providing supports to rural Kentucky, eastern Kentucky, and I am very honored to return to Morehead State as Dean of the college. I hand over to Dr. Simpson.
Yes, good morning. I'm Tim Simpson. I'm a department chair for teacher education, which is our undergrad initial certification. I'm also the department chair for our foundational and graduate studies, which is primarily where our graduate education is housed. And I, too, am a proud MSU grad and happy to be returning to my alma mater to serve. So who do I tell next slide?
I think they're working on it.
Okay,
I think they're working on it. There we go.
All right, so we'll wait just a moment.
Sarah's gonna. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. So Morehead State University is located in Morehead, Kentucky. It's about an hour east of Frankfort. We are nestled in the Appalachian foothills and located in beautiful Daniel Boone National Forest. We began as a Morehead Normal School in 1887. It's an interesting sort of story in itself, but we were founded to serve the people of eastern Kentucky. And from the very beginning, service has been at the heart of our institution. In 1926, we were recognized as an official teachers college and were authorized to certify teachers in all grade levels, a legacy we're going to celebrate with our centennial in fall of 2026. Since then, since 1926, our mission has expanded to include the preparation of educational leaders and counselors, extending our impact across the region and beyond. You see our Light to the Mountains symbol there. From its inception, Morehead State has been described as a light to the mountains, a phrase that captures our enduring commitment to the noble work of educating Eastern Kentucky, and we're proud to carry that tradition forward in service to our region and the wider world. Next slide, please. This slide gives a picture of our service to the region and the Commonwealth, highlighting where we've placed student teachers since 2020. So you can see we primarily serve that Eastern Kentucky region, but we're expand to other counties as well. Next slide, please. This slide expands that picture even further, showing the locations of our graduate students as of fall of 2025. You'll notice our presence spans most of Kentucky and reaches into nearly every state east of the Mississippi River. Next slide.
Our current successes are rooted in our strong history, as Dr. Simpson shared, and our recent celebrations represent our commitment to serving our region. We have a few items that we wanted to spotlight because these are recent accomplishments. In January 2026, we received 7-year accreditation through AQUIP. We will be the first regional public institution in Kentucky to receive this honor. It represents our commitment to continuous improvement, and it's evidence of the quality of our programs and the graduates of Morehead State University. As Dr. Simpson mentioned a few minutes ago, we are also celebrating our 100th anniversary of the expansion of our teacher prep program from just simply elementary education to also include secondary education as well. At MSU, our students are active community members and partners. And MSU is very excited to share that our KEA Aspiring Educators is once again the largest student chapter in Kentucky. Our KEA members really work hard to create a sense of belonging amongst our education majors that helps with our retention, and also to provide service to the region in a variety of ways. Next slide, please. We are very proud of all our programs at Morehead State, but this past year, several have excelled, including our Educational Doctorate, our EDD program, which received a Princeton ranking earlier this year. The Volgino College of Education is also home to our MSU Testing Center. This is a resource actively used by our current students, but also our community partners. MSU is the closest testing center for many, many school districts in Eastern Kentucky, and we're very proud to be able to provide this service to them. We have obviously been offering the SAT recently, ACT. We also provide testing for various regional partners and KCTCS partners in welding and other testing. We are very excited, and our students exceptionally so, to report record high EdTPA scores. All our teacher preparation programs require that students create EdTPA portfolios. This allows them an opportunity to constantly reflect on their teaching practice, get input from current teachers and mentors. And this past fall, we scored record highs, and we celebrated that in a variety of ways on campus. Campus as a whole was just ranked the 12th top public regional university in the South by the U.S. News and World Report, and we are very excited about that honor. Thank you. Next slide, please. This slide is what gets me up in the mornings. This is MSU Teach, which is our commitment to providing STEM teachers to rural Kentucky. If you're not familiar with the U-Teach model, it was designed in Austin, Texas. It is the largest STEM education program. And over the last 10 years, since the implementation of MSU Teach at Morehead State, we have graduated 43 STEM teachers. That's 43 math, science, chemistry, and physics teachers in our region. You can see from the map, students don't always stay in Eastern Kentucky, but we have graduates in 36 Kentucky counties right now. And of those counties, of those 43 students, 80% have been retained over the last 10 years. Thank you very much. And then before I hand over back to, I have one more slide, I apologize. We just launched last week our new campaign that is providing a significant tuition discount for our MAT programs. Chair Snell had mentioned how many teachers are currently option 6, right? We know there's a great need. There isn't a day that goes by that a principal or superintendent does not contact me and ask me for teachers. We have several teachers that are doing full-time substitute teaching during their student teaching semester. The MAT program provides significant relief, especially in Eastern Kentucky. By providing an affordable, the most affordable MAT program in Kentucky, and allowing flexibility gives us an opportunity to provide a master's degree with teacher certification for candidates in Eastern Kentucky and beyond. Next slide, please. We humbly like to boast about some of our uniquely Morehead State features. I love this one. We tell our incoming freshmen this every SOAR event. We are voted the #1 safest campus in Kentucky because we have more law enforcement in Eastern Kentucky than anywhere else. That obviously includes state police, campus police, city police, but also the forestry services. which is quite active. We are home to the Kentucky Traineeship Grant Program. That is a state grant program. And if you are not familiar with this, I really encourage those that want to seek Special Education Certification or IEC certification for teachers who already have initial certification. The Kentucky Traineeship Grant will provide the full cost of tuition plus textbooks. This is a multi-million-dollar grant that is housed at Morehead State through the state. Again, that will award full tuition plus textbook expenses for anybody who wants to add special education or IEC onto their base endorsement. We recognize that special education is a high-need area, and this is just one of many ways that the state and Morehead State are trying to help support that need. Many of our rural schools are not situated in communities with large industries, which makes recruiting teachers and their families very difficult. Morehead State is home to the Appalachian Future Educators Scholarship and Mentorship Program. It's the only one in the state, and we are backed by the Rural Schools Collaborative. We give out scholarships to 24 students every year, high school seniors, who want to become teachers and study at Morehead State University, but who are committed to returning to rural Kentucky to serve as teachers of record. As part of our Appalachian Future Educators, we create a cohort of students that do a variety of community engagement projects with school districts. But the biggest part of Appalachian Future Educators is our mentorship program. We connect students with a mentor for the duration of their 4-year program, and they meet with that mentor every single month to talk about the things that we don't necessarily cover in their content. Day-to-day challenges that teachers have, how they overcome those challenges, and why they stay in education. Our retention numbers are exceptional in the Appalachian Future Educators because of that care and attention that is provided to those students. Our Eagle Scholars, which is our dual credit pathway, expanded to include IECE. So that is one of our ways to meet the needs of early childhood development. We launched that in the fall of 2025, and we currently have 5 school districts that are partnering with us to provide that pathway. And then lastly, until I hand over to Dr. Simpson again, is from an institutional perspective, we have launched a brand new KCTCS pathway that not only allows candidates at KCTCS to complete an associate's degree and then come to us and complete their last 2 years for teacher certification, but it also aligns our course prefixes and numbers. So moving forward, KCTCS course prefixes and numbers will be the same as Morehead State. I know that sounds like a small thing, but it is a big thing when it comes to transfer pathways. Mm-hmm. We want to make the system as easy and seamless for those who are seeking 4-year teacher certification.
Next slide, yes. So we offer several pathways to becoming a teacher. Our dual credit pathway allows us to identify promising future educators at the secondary level and then nurture their growth into our teacher education program. In fact, 46% of our current majors participated in dual credit during high school, underscoring its importance as a pipeline for future teachers. We also offer, of course, a strong traditional undergraduate pathway in a residential setting. One of the advantages of our size is the ability to provide highly personalized advising and instruction, ensuring that each student receives the individual attention and support they need to be successful. Additionally, we offer the flexibility of the option 6, option 9, and the proficiency pathways to provide great opportunities to becoming a teacher. Next slide. We also offer graduate pathways in education, leadership, and counseling. Our doctoral program, for example, that was recognized by Princeton Review, includes 5 concentrations designed to help educators grow as leaders. We have the career and technical education, which I believe we have one of our graduates.
I'm K-12.
K-12, not CTE, okay. I'll get to that one in a second. CTE, adult and higher ed, educational technology, exceptional child, and P-12, administrative leadership. And Lisa, you've just completed your capstone to be graduating with us in just a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Rudinsky. But what really sets our programs apart, though, is our faculty. They're not just scholars, they're experienced practitioners. For example, Dr. Mike Kessinger, which I think a few of you know quite well, who coordinates our P12 administrative leadership programs, brings over 50 years of combined experience from P12 as well as higher education to lead our program. All of our graduate programs are fully online, which allows us to serve students wherever they are. And that work has been recognized by the U.S. News and World Report, which recently named us one of the best education schools. At the end of the day, though, everything we do is grounded in service to Eastern Kentucky, to the Commonwealth, and to the communities our graduates go on to lead.
Next slide, please. Thank you. We value partnerships with our community. We are friends to the region. In fact, we have 3 regional campuses in both Ashland, Mount Sterling, and Hazard. We try to go to where we are needed and valued. This is a very busy few months for us. Tomorrow, we are supporting the Teach for America conference in Moorhead at our conference center, and we'll be conducting several roundtables and opening keynote addresses. But this is one of the ways that we partner with a variety of organizations to provide resources for our region. In July, we'll be co-hosting the United We Learn conference. Hopefully that will give some opportunities for those teachers in Eastern Kentucky not to have to travel so far for some professional development and collaboration. And then in the fall, we welcomed the Bezos Family Foundation. They were very interested in our work with Appalachian Future Educators and our mission to provide services to Eastern Kentucky. Next slide, please. Thank you. We value flexibility and affordability. Our students are a very specific demographic. Many of them have not traveled outside of Eastern Kentucky. Many of them have financial challenges, unlike many other regions in Kentucky. So we pride ourselves in our Eagle Books, which is our discounted textbook program, our transfer agreements, but we also pride ourselves in our quality assurance plan, which is the Level Up. Level Up is a service QEP. And it also provides a clear pathway from Portrait of a Learner that we're seeing in our K-12 schools to the Kentucky Graduate Profile through our Level Up. We understand that the essential skills like communication, quantitative reasoning, working with diverse people is an essential part of being a great teacher and leader and counselor. And our courses, our programs are rooted in service and in those essential skills. Thank you. This is our last slide. The mission of the Volgener College of Education is to prepare highly effective educators, leaders, and counselors who advance learning and positively impact our community. We are here to serve Eastern Kentucky and the Commonwealth, and our progress allows us to continue this mission and focus much of our energy to support rural Kentucky schools. So on behalf of the beautiful faces on the screen, which represents our faculty and staff, we thank you to the EPSB board for this time to share some of the exciting things happening at Moorhead State.
Thank you.
I was going to say, do you have any questions?
I would just like to, as a soon-to-be alumni of Moorhead State University, just compliment for anyone who has not looked into or experienced Moorhead State University to continue your educational journey. I highly, highly recommend it. The staff, the faculty, every single person that I met on campus and virtually was welcoming, helpful, friendly, and I felt like a part of the community even though I lived miles away. And I just can't say enough about how proud I was to have you present this today. I've listened to several presentations, and Moorhead State is doing wonderful things.
I'll very quickly add the MAT news that you all shared. My friend Allie back there shared a Facebook post that I saw, so I actually knew that news going into this, but as also a fellow Option 6 teacher, we've got great people out there who've got content area degrees and want to get in the field. We have many great MAT programs across our institutions, but it's nice to see we're taking down barriers and making things more affordable. So thanks for the work you all are doing.
Yes. Next up, we're pleased to have Dr. Kristen Harris, Chair of the College of Education, and Dr. Glenn Beatty, Assistant Professor and Director of Advanced Programs, here representing Spalding University.
Thank you. So we are Spalding University College of Education. Next slide. We are, depending on how you slice it, a 200 or a 100-year-old private Catholic school. So you want to go to our Bardstown roots or to our time in Louisville. But we say a 100-year-old private Catholic school in Louisville, focused on liberal arts as well as professional studies. And so much like the normal school that became Morehead State, our founding program, one of our founding programs was education, the other was nursing, because the Sisters of the Charity of Nazareth came to Louisville from Bardstown in 1918 to basically provide medical services and education to the orphans of the 1918 flu epidemic. So we leaned into that mission during COVID times. But our mission is to meet the needs of the times and uphold the traditions of the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth who founded us. And so to do that, essentially, our mission and vision are based on the idea that all educators are leaders and that all educators act as such for the holistic growth of all students, tending to their every need, much like the sisters did in 1918. So as an EPP, we strongly value collaboration with our area school districts. Louisville is a wonderful place for EPP partnerships, as well as school district partnerships, JCPS, Archdiocese. We even have an independent school system made up of all kinds of unique small schools that need educators. We also work heavily with the educational cooperative in our area, OVEC, and agencies like Teach Kentucky, as well as our state and federal agencies and organizations. God bless OELE, friends right behind us, and the Education Professional Standards Board. So next slide. Just pretty quickly, we brought to you, or what's on this slide here is what we do that basically concerns the EPSB. We also have an EDD, it's in leadership. But in terms of our certification programs, Spalding has 2 buckets, even though they're both numbered 1. That's because number 1 is one in my heart. The second one is number 1 in Dr. Beatty's heart. And we don't compete. But our initial teacher certification is divided at that bachelor's level as well as the MAT. Again, most popular is the option 6 version, and we offer these certification areas for elementary, learning and behavior disorders, and all middle and secondary contents. At the master's level, you can get into much more in-depth secondary content, art, business, Spanish, earth science, all the others, and we do not have an option 6 elementary program. Advanced certification programs are instructional leadership. You think principals at master's or rank 1 level, school counseling, master's or rank 1 level, teacher leadership, Masters of Education with various endorsements, such as an ESL, which we'll hear a bit more about, but that one's really been taking off with the increase in multilingual learners in Louisville, Kentucky. And upcoming, there's a typo there. It's a CEO option, not an MED, so delete the MED off the end there, but a CEO option 2 for teacher leadership, as well as a school psychology program, which would be an interdisciplinary work with our professional school of psychology. Next slide. I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Beatty to sort of talk us through here, and especially the red highlighted item, which we want to highlight very much today.
All right, so on the advanced program side, we have been fortunate to be a partner with the Wallace Foundation and Jefferson County Public Schools over the past 5 years to be part of the Equity-Centered Pipeline Initiative, along with the University of Louisville and the Kentucky Department of Education as a partner in this work to help establish a principal pipeline. The Wallace Foundation has been around for a number of years to help strengthen and to establish the principal leadership pipeline. As a former school principal, I was in Jefferson County. I was an original participant in the original Wallace work, and to be able to take that work to a different level as a university professor has come full circle for me. So our Wallace grant work, we received a 5-year grant. We just found out last week we're getting a 6th year. So an additional $250,000 for the university to enhance its principal leadership pipeline. And we use that for both school principals and school counselors. And we're going to be sort of pushing that down to our teacher leaders and to our initial certification programming as well. So in the past 5 years, we've used the quality measures curriculum and program review process. We've went through 2 iterations of course review over the past 2 years using Jefferson County Public Schools, teachers, administrators, central office staff to help us co-construct our coursework to make it more relevant to the strategic priorities and pillars of the school system, and to focus on equity and to be unapologetic about that work. Another piece to the work is the leader tracking system, which is an innovation for us, particularly as a small university. We don't have a huge college of education. You're looking at initial and advanced certification programs. So a lot of the functions of a college of education are done by us. So we wanted to find ways in which to, one, make our work a bit easier so we could focus on teaching, learning, and supporting candidates, and also to really help us to inform our quality assurance system and our continuous improvement processes. So I'm going to show you a few screenshots from our LTS that has picked up a lot of attention, not only with some universities in the area, but nationally. And then the final piece with regard to Wallace that I think we've really progressed on is candidate coaching. We really leaned into how we coach our aspiring leaders, our aspiring counselors, and our pre-service educators. So, whether you're using the cognitive coaching model, or you're using Aguilar, or you're using Rutherford, we know that there are basic tenets to coaching that are important, and we've been able to codify that into our systems and structures and processes so that whether you're a university coach coaching a candidate, or you're a principal mentor at a school coaching a candidate, you're going to be resourced well to be able to support our students who are seeking certification. We've been very collaborative in our admissions processes. Being small, it's really important for us to collaborate with partners in the area. So for our MAT program, we collaborate with Teach Kentucky, the school system, University of Louisville, and Bellarmine to host events and to screen candidates for our MAT program. In our instructional leader MED program, we screen candidates alongside JCPS. They sit at the table with us to interview applicants. They sit at the table with us to review writing samples and to make decisions. And then finally, we work with OVAC with regard to our teacher leader work that's focused on competency-based education, student-centered learning, or vibrant learning, which is the new term that's coming out. Our teacher leadership program has taken a curricular focus on the student-centered approaches to learning. So I think it fits really well with the focus of the Commonwealth over the past several years, and with the new piece of legislation, we will be able to provide teacher leaders out into the ecosystem who understand these approaches and who can demonstrate the ability to do those things. Number 3 is with the recent growth in multilingual learners in JCPS. There are approximately 24,000 multilingual learners in JCPS. And for us being a university, it's really responsive to the needs. When we went to JCPS and said, what is it that you really need at this point in time? Said, with the increase of multilingual learners, we may need more teachers who have this ML endorsement. So we started with one elementary school, which is Hartstern, and you had one of our graduates, Crystal Blair, who spoke this morning. She actually completed our teacher leader CBE program, and she's also in our TESL cohort. So we have worked with a group of teachers from Hartstern Elementary, a group of 20 teachers from JCPS who JCPS is sponsoring their endorsement, and we're launching a third cohort in December to help the school district meet its need for more multilingual learners, more multilingual teachers to support learners. We have been fortunate to receive a bequest of $4 million from a friend of the university to support our BSED students. So we have supports for pre-service teachers who want to come into the profession. We have some financial support to be able to assist them with their work. And as mentioned earlier, the 2 opportunities on the horizon for us are a CEO Option 2 that will be coming to you soon, and a school psychologist program, because from working with Jefferson County Public Schools and OVAC, we know that there is definitely a shortage in school psychologists. And it was interesting in the bill that wasn't really related earlier there was some language specific to school psychologists, and we know that in the Louisville metro area with the district of its size, there is a need for school psychologists. So we'll be coming to you at some point with an approval for a school psychologist program. Next slide, please.
If I may, just want to applaud you for the ELL work. You know, we've talked how important that is in the growth. Principal Collier, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but over 140 different languages are spoken in Jefferson County Public Schools. Over 140 different languages challenges. So that work is so important. As a matter of fact, we've added a position here to try to help address and try to be a support for that too. So I do want to applaud that work. So thank you so much for it.
Thank you. And so one of the pieces that we wanted to share with you today, just to sort of spotlight, is our leader tracking system. And again, with a small university, to be able to streamline some of our process and to help us with our continuous improvement efforts through the Wallace Foundation work, we've been able to set up a technology-based system that helps us with our key performance indicators, specifically with recruitment, candidate selection, program performance, and program impacts. I want to show you just a few of those. Next slide, please. So our pipeline is admissions, candidate performance, and program impact. So with admissions, we have to recruit candidates and select candidates and enter them into the state database and work through those processes. And when our candidates are in the program, we want to make sure that those assessments that we provide them are aligned to standards, not only national standards, state standards, but to some university-based standards. And we report those to CAPE and to EPSB and to SACS and to our own institutional effectiveness processes. But then finally, we want to ask the question, how are our graduates performing in the current roles in which they're leading or serving in? And so that program impact. So those are really the three phases of our pipeline and of our LTS. Next slide, please. So this is just a screenshot of our applicant scorecard. In the past, our screening process consisted of a website, a Google form, a Google sheet, an Excel workbook, and a SharePoint site. And by being very strategic about the type of information that we collect at a candidate admissions and entering it, we can pull information together on making information regarding candidate selection. And I think that was really important for us just to streamline our processes and to be very intentional about that with regard to that piece. The next slide is actually one that has made my life much simpler. When we admit a candidate into a program, OELE requires us to enter that candidate into the Kentucky Educator Credentialing System, in the KECS. And in some university, they have someone who's designated to do that. Well, that's me. So my question was, is there a way for me to, rather than going into a file folder, into various places in the university system, is there a one-stop shop? So by being deliberate about how we collected information at admissions and being systemic about our thinking and using existing technology that we already had through our slate admissions system, I now have a screen that gives me all of the information that I need to both enter a candidate and exit a candidate. And most of the information on the LTS screen is blacked out because it's personally identifiable information. But you see that I have rank information, I have conferral degree date, I have EPSB IDs, I have exit grade point average, I have all the information that I need for that. So that really was an efficiency on the admissions side of things. So when we go to the next screen, this is where we start to get into our learning outcome dashboards. As all EPPs are required to ensure that their assessments are aligned to standards, whether it's PSEL standards for principals, whether it's KSPSC for school counselors, whether it's teacher leader model standards for teachers. So in our learning management system, we, through rubrics and alignments, we align all of our major assessments in the system to standards. So you see a screenshot of the teacher leader model standards here, particularly in our teacher leader competency-based ed program. And on a daily basis, there's an automated process that runs candidate performance outcomes and provides us visualizations on how our candidates are performing on each of the domains of the teacher leader model standards. That is at the standard level. And that's good for us to report for accrediting bodies, EPSB, to ensure that we are in our annual reporting. When you go to the next screen, we can drill a step further. We can actually drill into courses. So these are courses in the principal preparation program. And what you see here is a visualization of just the courses, the overall average score of assessments, and you see some conditional formatting on the right that shows percentages of ineffective, developing, accomplished, and exemplary. Now, this sounds a lot like things that happen in K-12 schools. And one of the things I learned as a former high school principal and district administrator is that some of the processes that we use for tracking outcomes and student performance in P-12 schools really have strong implications at the post-secondary level, and that's what we've really tried to do with this work. So you see it at the course assignment level, but then finally, which I think is the most important screen, is we drill down to the student level. So on the next slide, what you will see is actual student performance. Oh, there you go. So you'll see a conditional formatted. So our faculty will meet and look at a particular group of students, and we can sort it by semester. So we can get 3 cycles of data for accrediting reports. We can look at various outcomes. I can look at principal preparation. I can look at school counseling, or the faculties themselves can review to determine which students might need some additional coaching and support. Because as I mentioned earlier, coaching and support is one of our big areas of focus. So we use tools like this to be able to get this information. And this is populated automatically daily. So this is not something that we have to go and build and extract. We were doing that before, but through our work with Wallace in developing some of these systems with existing technology and existing platforms, we were able to do this efficiency. And then finally, the program impact slides. If you go to the next slide, what you're going to see here is that we've collaborated with Kentucky Department of Education's Technology Division over the past several years to be a little bit more precise about some data fields that were available on some of the program completer reports and the GACE. So we were able to go into the Kentucky school report card profiles and just get latitude and longitudinal data on every school in the Commonwealth. And that's what you see on this first slide. And if you go to the next slide, we developed some filtering through those reports, the program completer reports, to see where our Spalding University graduates are currently working, and the students who are highlighted in blue are our principal preparation candidates. You drill into one more slide. Next slide, please. You go to Jefferson County. And in Jefferson County, what you'll see in this heat map is where our graduates work. We have started to populate initial certification and school counselors in the past year. This principal prep data goes back 5 years, but we're starting to roll those pieces in. So you actually see the school locations to where they work. Let's go to the next slide. I can select a school, which is Wilder Elementary, who has one of our principal is one of our program graduates. And through accessing the school report card data, we've been able to match and link our program completer to candidate performance. And on our inward side of this slide, we know who that candidate is, when they completed the program. We can ask the question, what impact is this principal preparation program candidate having? And we are migrating this to not only principals, but to school counselors and to teachers to ask that question, what impact are Spalding University graduates having on the schools in which they serve? And I think this work has been really insightful for us and impactful to help us make programmatic decisions and make decisions to help meet the needs of the times, which goes back to our mission as a university. And also, to be a small university, we're nimble. We can make adjustments to help support school districts and education cooperatives with things that they need. And then next slide.
Yeah, so our next steps really are to kind of keep doing what we're doing, but building on it. And so, as Dr. Beatty mentioned, the Wallace grant really helped us build the blueprint with principals. And now we're just copy paste to working in school counselors already, teacher leader, initial cert, and eventually maybe school psychology and all the other things that will come. But so we're just, again, continuing to always strengthen our program quality and candidate outcomes. This is not all the data that we gather to assess those things, but to take in that data and say, what does this tell us that we need to do and can do, because we are nimble and do like to work hard, even though it's just a few of us. We also know that it takes a village. District agency partnerships, working with everyone who can, working with KACT. Look very forward to the meeting that happens after EPSB for us in education preparation. So to expand and continue to work on those partnerships. Always looking to enhance our data-informed continuous improvement systems. We work in Canvas and Slate. That's what Spalding provides for us. And so we take the experts in those areas in IT and we say, hey, we actually would like to give you some professional development money so you go to Slate and learn how to do this for us while at the Slate conference. or hey, let's get some Canvas learning and some other, simulations trainings, et cetera. Obviously, we keep mentioning it because we think this is really some sort of important work for the state. Next is a CEO option, so there are affordable ways to add to your certifications and shift what you do in a classroom. We heard our teacher voice folks this morning, and then school psychology, just a high need across the state. CAPS met yesterday afternoon and talked about the opening we have for a school psychology program director. So I put that out to this world too, in case anyone's interested. And then always continue to align with EPSB priorities, what the legislature's signaling to us as, important to the state, and then these labor, education, workforce kind of combined needs. We don't want to make anyone a teacher who won't be hired or be successful for P-12 students, because at the end of the day, I think every person in this room is only here because we believe in P-12 children. So that is Spalding. Our next slide literally just says questions. Thank you all.
I just want to applaud you on the school psychology efforts. It is so critical, not also as a function of numbers, but as a function of scope creep. When we don't have people in the necessary positions to support the schools, we end up leaning on others or leaning on professions where we're seeing scope creep. And so in behavior analysis land, behavior improvement land, social work land, school psychology land, counseling land, these are all very distinct disciplines that serve together on interdisciplinary teams, but it's really important that we have programs like school psychology so that we don't end up with scope creep across other professional categories. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well heard. And again, we're blessed with a really strong school of professional psychology at Spalding.
I love all the data. I love that. I need to know more about the Wallace Foundation. I'll reach out.
Anytime.
I'll reach out.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you all. We appreciate you.
All right. We have 2 agenda items, and I just want to real quickly say, as part of the report of the chair, all of the educators that are up here are working educators, so I think it speaks to the fact that people were talking about earlier, we're coming into that crunch time, right? And so I will say, as a part of crunch time, we are missing a good amount of our board, and so at some point, quorum becomes an issue for us. And so we are making some changes to our agenda, just to give you all a heads up. The first is that staff has requested to remove section 7 from section 7, action item B from the agenda. We will not be taking action on that matter at today's meeting. We are also going to remove the information items from today's agenda, just because a good part of our board, we deal with a lot of amazing things in open session, but unfortunately, we've got some things that we need to address in closed session, and making sure that we have time to do those, we've got to do. Also, due to a staff oversight, a waiver request was mistakenly omitted from the board agenda and materials. So those members of us up here at the board, you have received those printed copies, and unless you all have objections, we're going to add item L to the section 9 waivers. Is everybody okay with that? All right, perfect. So just some notes and updates. And I see board members kind of taking their own personal time to go to the bathroom, so I'm not gonna do a break. And just, if you need to do so, please do so. But we're gonna move to the consent items. Items A through U are listed on the agenda as consent items. I'll give the members a moment to review those. Will shout out watching my own school board and their public meetings. I noticed Chair Cobb has reiterated that the board has had these agenda items and has had time to review these agenda items. And so we have reviewed those and asked any questions prior to them coming to here for consent.
Make a motion to approve consent items A through U.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mitchell. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Fryer. Not Dr. Fryer, but we're going to get there, right?
It's got a big upgrade there.
The motion before the board is to approve all the remaining consent items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Having received no requests to remove them and approve the consent items, we have approved the consent items.
Chair Snell, I'm recusing myself.
On the consent items? Okay. Was there a specific one or all of them?
Well, it's just easier to say all of them.
Okay. Perfect.
But yes, there's some WKU ones in there. So.
Got it. We are moving on from the information items. So we are now ready to review action items. These are presented to the board for action and will require a motion, a second, and a vote. First one we have up. Dr. David. Action item A. Thank you for being flexible, guys.
Of course.
We're nimble. We're trying to be very nimble. Absolutely. Spalding reference, yes.
Thank you, Chair Snell, and good morning, everyone.
morning.
Almost good afternoon at this
Yeah,
point.
good-
But action item A, if you recall, 16 KAR 6010 houses the testing requirements and the assessments required for teacher certification. However, 6020 is where the assessment order is housed for our career and technical education teachers. And so this morning, we are here to address some potential changes. And my colleagues here from OCTE, Ms. Carmela Clark, Ms. Kathy Hain. Oh, that's way off. Sorry. And Ms. Lauren Graves will address the board.
Thank you, and good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you this morning. So 16 KAR 6020, Section 22, provides that the EPSB shall specify the specialty assessments and passing scores via an order of the EPSB that shall be posted to the website. OCTE proposes a few revisions to the current CTE assessment order, including a formatting change to improve clarity in the fire and safety requirements by simply adjusting the placement of the word "or," which you'll see on page 8. Additional revisions provide better alignment of assessments and allowable testing substitutions with industry expectations in aviation technology, business and marketing, and marine technology. And we are simply requesting your approval of the proposed CTE assessment order. Happy to take any questions.
I have one question.
Yes.
In our document, it's page 384. I'm not sure what it is on yours, but under the, it says biomedical services. It lists a bachelor's in a specific thing. It says or, it lists another one, and then it says or health science area. And so I don't know if that needs to classify or clarify that it is a bachelor's and or a master's in a health science area, or if it was just my interpretation of that. That's the one thing that jumped out at me as slightly confusing.
I would agree that we probably need to add that because the interpretation or the intent is for that to be a higher degree as well.
Okay.
It's not just a degree, like a regular bachelor's degree for an RN.
That was all I had. Make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Dr. Wazinski has the motion to approve. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. The motion before the board is to approve action item A. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Action item B.
Thank you.
Nope, we pulled that one, didn't we?
Yep.
Action item C.
Action item C is the certification work group recommendation. So if you recall, about 18 months ago, the board tasked OELE staff to establish a work group to investigate, research the certification structure, as well as certifications in general, to see if it aligns with the needs of our Kentucky schools and meets the needs for our students. Next slide, please. In June of last year, we presented to the board with a grade band recommendation. And just to review those, we voted or recommended that we retain the preschool kindergarten with a consideration of adding an optional endorsement for grades 1 through 3, expanding grades K through 5, which there was 2 clauses that would allow grade 6 to be taught by an elementary teacher. So just expanding that to K6. An additional expansion to middle grades from 5 to 9 to 4 to 9 to allow grades 4 and 5 who tend to departmentalize at the elementary level, allow middle school teachers to teach those content areas only. And then in secondary was also an expansion of adding 7th grade to that grade band, moving from 8th grade. Next slide, please. And as we've heard over the last several months in some of our updates, our recommendations, number one, for special education, due to the extensive feedback and challenges with IDEA and our autism and just the population of special needs students and meeting those needs, the recommendation was to not move forward with a comprehensive certificate at this time. However, we do and have continued to partner with our OCL staff to look at other options or flexibilities to where we could help address some of those needs. Our second recommendation is related to mathematics and specifically for grades 5 through 9 at the moment. And that's expanding permissions only for Algebra 1 and geometry to be taught beyond 9th grade. So our common feedback was that middle school teachers have the ability to teach Algebra 1 and geometry to 9th grade students. The content's not changing, but if a student or a couple of students were unable to complete their coursework or did not complete their coursework during their freshman year or prior to, they had to hire someone outside of that grade band. And so a lot of challenges there. And so it would just expand those permissions for those specific contents. And then science. We've spent most of our time talking about the sciences in general. As we shared, over 30 states right now have a general science certificate at some point or of some type. And because of that, it was overwhelmingly consensus was that we needed to at least offer some type of general science. And the recommendation from the work group is that we do offer a general science. And then as far as figuring out the specifics of the types of courses and things that could be taught at that point, work with OELE, work with our OTL staff, and work through those permissions. Additionally, keeping in mind that if we move to a general science certificate, that there's still a gap between this year and 3 to 4 years from now once programs are developed and we start producing general science teachers. So consider other options for adding credentials or permissions as we move forward to help address those needs. Next slide, please. So again, the recommendations, as far as the board goes at this point, we just recommend for acceptance of these recommendations, but then potentially for the board to approve any changes for adoption, which would require regulation changes as well. So that could be adopt as is, adopt with changes, or table, and so forth. Looking forward as far as implementation, we recommend working with OELE staff and the board to, one, revise the language of 16 KAR 2010, while also developing a plan to transition to science certification and/or permissions, as just mentioned. But then also develop a plan and timeline for educator preparation programs. So making the decision sooner rather than later to move to a general science allows them to develop those programs based on our SPA standards and so forth. As Dr. Fletcher mentioned, there was a lot of conversation around an education type of major. So if we visited multiple times the definition of a major, and based on that definition, which reads, major means an academic area of concentration consisting of at least 30 hours of coursework. So there is no specific mention of content coursework specifically around that. So there is flexibility, and based on the recommendations of the work group, that was not something they felt like needed to be changed. There's the flexibility that allows some change. Somewhere along the way, elementary and middle school are recognized as elementary and middle school education with tracks, specifically for middle school. However, somewhere along the way, it changed for secondary to where it became specialized. And so that was the consideration that flexibility is there to allow our institutions to have our EPPs work with those colleges at their institutions to develop those majors and focus more on a secondary type of major as well. So that's the recommendations from the work group. I'll take questions and.
How to phrase it. So if the feedback that you've gotten from our ed prep providers on the changes, what assurances or what do we need to write into to ensure that at least uniformly across the board, depending on where they go to get that major in that secondary field, there is consistency across the state?
So when they design their programs, they design one based on the Kentucky academic standards, but then also the SPA standards, those specialty standards for the sciences. And so those standards already exist. It would be a matter of developing some guidelines for them to follow as far as our program review process, which is that is consistent across the state as well as the accreditation process. So it would be embedded in there.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to say thank you. I know that this represents a lot of years of people poking various people across the state saying, why can't I? And it's either teach this content or teach this grade, or why is it that if I'm in this classroom in this school, I can teach this, but if I go to this school and this building, I can teach. And so you all have taken the time to really look through all of these existing certification structures, and then also talk with the primary constituents who are principals and HR folks who need to actually staff the schools with the people who are appropriately credentialed to teach. And so there was a lot of listening involved. I think there's just been, I don't know if what we do today will fully recognize just how many hours of work has gone into this effort. And it's one that is tough because people don't necessarily like change. And so I also say to our EPP partners across the state, it will require some curricular changes and some things. And I know we're ready for that. And folks want to get the most inspired humans in front of our most potential, which is our kids. So really appreciate this work and happy to see it moving forward.
Very quickly, I want to 100% co-sign everything Dr. Murphy just said and tack on that I think we made these recommendations without lowering the bar, which I think is always that societal pressure of like, how can we get more people in and make things easier? We didn't make things easier. We did common sense, thoughtful recommendations. So I'm really pumped about this. And well said, Dr. Murphy.
I also want to commend Todd's leadership.
Yes.
the task force was so diversely represented in terms of, EPPs were consulted and principals and superintendents and active teachers, and it was really a diverse set of stakeholders that you cultivated. And it was, you did a lot of work to make sure that you got to everybody despite a lot of busy schedules. People would say no, and he'd be like, okay, so I'll meet with you individually, which is really appreciated, so.
All right, do I have a motion for the action on the recommendations of the work group as presented by Dr. Davis?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. The motion before the board is to approve the work group recommendations. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. And the recommendations are approved.
Yeah, I think that's where some of us.
I will clarify, it is not Dr. Davis,
Hey,
and nor
look,
do I play
she's-
one on TV.
Listen, I'm
Todd.
passing out today, apparently.
Todd, we're just listening at the School of Amber Snow.
I need, like,
We both got it today.
You all worked hard for these degrees. I want to recognize them. One day I'll be there, maybe. Who knows?
Great work, Todd.
All
And team.
right. Next up, we have action item D, presented by Mr. Brandon Herod.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon.
Morning.
So this action item is a proposal to update certain practices to assessments to their new current versions that are provided by ETS. For those of you that can see the staff note below is a quick summary of the tests that will be replaced and their cut scores and their adjusted -1 SEM cut scores. The test that we're asking to update is we're wanting to replace the middle school social studies 5089 test with the middle school social studies 5589 test. We're also wanting to replace the interdisciplinary early childhood education 5023 test with the early childhood education foundational knowledge 5533 test. If the board does decide to do that, then the staff will work at adjusting 16K or 6010 for those changes.
I will clarify that these two assessments are expiring, the current assessments are expiring in August, and so that's the reason for the change.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion for the action on these new assessments?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Dinkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Yoder. The motion before, like I'm just gonna go with it right now. Commissioner, okay, there we go. See, new, they pop up, right? All right, the motion before the board is to approve these new assessments as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. And the motion passes. The board is now ready to consider waiver requests A through K. KRS 1610281N provides that the board has the authority to waive its administrative regulations when a request is submitted by an applicant for certification, a post-secondary institution, or a superintendent of a local school district. When requesting a waiver, the requesting party must submit to the board a written request along with appropriate justification for the waiver. EPSB staff reviewed the waivers with EPSB's waiver committee during an open meeting immediately prior to this meeting, and the waiver committee formulated recommendations. Sharon Salzman will present the waiver request to the board, and waiver committee chair Kathy Gunn will present the committee's recommendation. Each of these waivers will require a motion, second, and a vote. Up first, waiver A.
This one was submitted by Covington Independent Schools. They have been unsuccessful in finding qualified teachers for English as a second language. This candidate does plan to begin courses in December to add an EL endorsement. She is currently certified in IECE. The district states she is an excellent teacher and an asset to the school, so the district is requesting EPSB waive the number of years an emergency certificate can be offered and issue a third.
Ms. Gunn, did the waiver committee make a recommendation?
Yes, we did. The waiver committee reviewed the waiver request submitted by Covington Independent Schools. The committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that EPSB grant waiver A.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the waiver?
Make a motion to grant waiver A.
Thank you, Dr. Brzezinski. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. The motion before the board is to approve waiver A. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Waiver A passes. Next up, we have waiver B.
This one is from McLean County. They've been unsuccessful in finding qualified teachers for middle school science. The candidate was approved for secondary chemistry through the option 1 alternative route based on her chemistry major. She is unable to do the highly qualified route currently to extend her certification down to middle school, but is working on meeting those requirements. The district states that the candidate will continue to pursue all avenues for middle school science and is scheduling the praxis assessment. The district is requesting that the EPSB waive the number of years an emergency certificate can be offered and issue a third.
Thank you, Ms. Gunn. Did the waiver committee have a recommendation?
Yes, the waiver committee reviewed the waiver request and the committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that EPSB grant waiver B.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion for action on waiver B?
I make a motion to approve the waiver.
Thank you, Mr. Fryer. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. The motion before the board is to approve waiver B. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Waiver B is approved. Next up, waiver C.
This one is from Office of Career and Technical Education. They've submitted this waiver on behalf of Nathan Hoskins, who has a 1-year provisional certificate for teaching occupation-based aviation technology. He currently holds a professional license as a private pilot, Federal Aviation Administration ground instructor, advanced ground instructor, and instrument ground instructor, and is almost finished with his commercial pilot license. He has completed 95 credit hours in aviation and looking at completing the aviation degree, but was unable due to credit expiration and program limitations. So OCT is requesting that the EPSB waive the requirement of an associate degree in the occupation-based content and issue him a 5-year professional certificate.
Thank you so much. Ms. Gunn, what was the waiver committee's recommendation?
The waiver committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends EPSB grant waiver C.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion for action on waiver C?
I would move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Yoder. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. The motion before the board is to approve waiver C. Is there any discussion?
Chair, I need to note for the record that I will be recusing myself from discussion and any action on waivers C, D, E, and F due to prior involvement.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Waiver C is approved. Next up, waiver D.
This is a OCTE waiver on behalf of Cody Holland, a heavy equipment repair teacher. The candidate states that he and his family were in a serious car accident which created a hardship for his family. He reports being off work for 2 weeks, and his wife continues to experience ongoing effects from her injuries, resulting in the candidate having to take care of her and their 2 small children. He has enrolled in courses for this summer, but is seeking this waiver in case he is unable to successfully complete the courses or in the event the grades are not on his transcript in time. So OCT is requesting that the EPSB waive the requirement of 6 credit hours and issue him a 1-year provisional.
Thank you. Ms. Gunn, what was the waiver committee's recommendation?
The committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that EPSB grant.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion for action on waiver D?
I make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Gunn. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. The motion before the board is to approve waiver D. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Waiver D is approved. Next up is waiver E.
This is also an OCTE waiver on behalf of Andoni Torres, an auto technology teacher. The candidate states that he did not understand from the new Teacher Institute that the credit hour requirement applied at renewal and instead mistakenly believed he had at least 5 years to complete his associate degree. He further states that he is currently enrolled in courses for the spring semester, but is seeking this waiver in case he is unable to successfully complete the courses or in the event the grades are not on his transcript in time. So OCTE is requesting that the EPSB waive the requirement of 6 credit hours and issue him a 1-year provisional.
Thank you so much. Ms. Gunn, does the waiver committee have a recommendation?
Yes, the committee recommends that EPSB grant this waiver.
Thank you. you. The motion before the board is to approve the action on this. Is there a motion? I'm skipping ahead. Is there a motion for action on this waiver?
I make a motion to approve the waiver.
Thank you, Mr. Fryer. Thank you, Ms. Gunn. The motion before the board is to approve the waiver. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Next up is waiver F.
This is OCTE on behalf of Greg Gerton, a fire service technology teacher. He states that he did not understand from the New Teacher Institute that the credit hour requirement applied at renewal and believed he had 5 years to complete his degree. He has currently has 112 credit hours towards a bachelor's degree in physical education, but was recently informed that his degree must be in a CTE or a fire science related field. So OCT is requesting that the EPSB waive the requirement of 6 credit hours and issue him a 1-year provisional.
Thank you, Ms. Gunn. What was the waiver committee's recommendations?
The waiver committee reviewed the waiver request submitted by OCT, and the committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that EPSB grant this waiver.
Thank you. Is there a motion for action on waiver F?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. The motion before the board is to approve waiver F. Is there any discussion?
Just real quick, is this in the last one, the same, went to the same induction program? Have we made that group know that, clarify, like?
So
make sure that-
Justin, it's really great that you asked that question because we had quite a conversation, and I'd like to introduce Lisa here to perhaps reiterate her comments that she made to the waiver committee this morning.
With all the passion.
Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. I just would like to briefly note for the record a broader pattern we continue to see. Waiver requests related to occupation certification often reflect gaps in system-level understanding rather than a lack of effort on the part of individual teachers. In many cases, these challenges emerge early in the teacher's transition from industry to the classroom, and it continues across multiple stages of their experience. As career and technical education programs continue to expand, it is increasingly important that building administrators are equipped with the knowledge and tools to guide and support educators through certification pathways from the beginning. Strengthening that capacity on the front end can help prevent situations like we are hearing, improving teacher retention, and ultimately better supporting students.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I agree with it. I just wanted to make sure that maybe we're solving the, maybe, I don't know, or
Well,
fixing the problem.
You know, some more of the context of the conversation was how do we make sure that we get information from this board to those who are in administration so that they can fix kind of that hole that we're seeing from our side, but you wouldn't necessarily see if you were only dealing with one person at a time trying to help them through the system.
And more classically trained educational leaders are stepping into roles where they are supervising industry to classroom teachers. And those preparations are different, that experience is different, that certification process is different, depending on where that industry to classroom certified educator is in the process. It's a systems issue. These are people who want to teach, who have gone through that first 2 years of NTI, and then it gets lost in the shuffle. And only when it becomes a matter of something falling through the cracks, because a traditionally trained educator's certification route was so different, and now they are supervising and leading these occupation-based certified educators, there needs to be some type of systemic change on the part of the administrators who are leading them. The first 2 years of NTI, KDE guides them through that very well. But then, as we've heard on individual waivers, the circumstances of what the expectations are, what the requirements are, fall onto that educator who is just in their 3rd year of teaching, which is like a junior in a traditionally trained education program. And so we have to, on a systemic level, provide them with the supports for the administrative leaders guiding them through all of the stages of that teacher life cycle for our industry to classroom teachers.
I agree. And for our audience who might be familiar with the different NTI acronym, can you remind the general public?
Yes, NTI is the new teacher induction program for industry to classroom educators, often referred to as occupation-based certified educators.
As opposed to non-traditional instruction.
Which is what people think when they hear that phrase. Yeah. Thank you.
So I believe we are getting ready to vote on approval of waiver F. We had discussion. All those that are ready to approve waiver F, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Waiver F passes. Next up is waiver G.
This is the OCTE waiver on behalf of Lance Blanford for Family and Consumer Science. The certified family and consumer science teacher resigned and the school hired a culinary teacher, but this left students in the early childhood education pathway without a teacher. The candidate does have 4 years of occupational experience, but does not meet the recency requirement. So OCT is requesting that the EPSB waive the recency requirement for the candidate and issue him a 1-year provisional.
Thank you, Ms. Gunn. What was the waiver committee recommendation?
The waiver committee reviewed the waiver request submitted by the Office of Career and Technical Education. The committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends EPSB grant waiver G.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion for action on waiver G?
I make the motion to approve the waiver.
Thank you, Mr. Fryer.
Second.
Thank you, Captain Rosinski. Motion before the board is to approve waiver G. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Waiver G is approved. Next up, we have waiver H.
This is another OCTE waiver on behalf of Ryan Hackman for engineering. The candidate is certified in business and marketing, middle and secondary social studies, and middle and secondary math, and also has an endorsement for instructional computer technology. He served as a nuclear submarine engineer for 4 years in the Navy, and the candidate's math certification allows him to teach some courses in the engineering pathway. They would like to expand those permissions, however, the candidate's experience is more than 5 years old, so OCT is requesting that the EPSB waive the recency requirement for the candidate and issue him a 1-year provisional.
Thank you so much. Ms. Gunn, what was the waiver committee's recommendation?
The waiver committee reviewed the waiver. The committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver and recommends that EPSB grant waiver H.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion for the action on waiver H?
Make a motion to approve waiver H.
Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. Is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Yoder. The motion before the board is to approve waiver H. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Waiver H is approved. Next up, waiver I.
An OCTE waiver on behalf of Stephen Norris for aviation. The candidate has a total of 11 months of actual aviation experience. OCTE reports an exhaustive, multi-pronged recruitment and restructuring process that extended several months. However, the search failed to produce a pool of qualified applicants willing to work under the present constraints. OT further reports that redistributing the workload among existing employees would not meet the curriculum's need for specific technical oversight at the airport site in alignment with the Federal Aviation Administration requirement, and it would further pose a risk to student safety and program certification. OCT is requesting that the EPSB waive the years of experience requirement for the candidate and issue him a 1-year provisional certificate. They are also requesting to allow Mr. Norris to be assigned primarily at the airport location in order to ensure program integrity, student safety, and compliance with FAA standards.
Thank you so much. Ms. Gunn, what was the waiver committee's recommendation?
The waiver committee reviewed the waiver request submitted, and the waiver committee did not find exceptional circumstances to justify the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that EPSB deny the waiver request.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there a motion on waiver I?
I make the motion to deny the waiver. Deny.
Thank you, Mr. Fryer. Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. The motion before the board is to deny waiver request I. Is there any discussion?
Yes, the waiver committee was unsure of how to decide on this one because of the 11 months of experience, and we wanted the full board to discuss it. So we denied in lieu of not knowing for sure what you guys wanted to do.
And I will add that certification requirements for occupation-based educators require 4 years of experience, 2 within the last 4 years, I think, or 5 years. And there was a total of 11 months of experience on this individual. And so we're asking, the waiver is asking us to waive the requirement of the years of experience, including the recency. I guess including the recency experience. And this position, from the understanding of reading the waiver, this person with 11 months of experience in that field would be a certified educator, but then would also be located off-site at an airport facility without the support of anyone in a formal fashion to supervise that instruction, where the school is in one place and this person, as an instructor with 11 months of experience in that pathway field, would be teaching almost in isolation when it comes to all of the supports that are provided in an educational program for an occupation-based certified educator.
I think your concerns of the 11 months and the off-site was something that I had a concern with. So, I think.
It says that it's not safe to divide the workload amongst the current teachers. So we're trying to figure out, is it 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other? I don't have enough experience to know.
Right.
So I don't know how we proceed, but it made me uncomfortable, especially with, I'm from Louisville and we just had a major aviation issue. I'm nervous.
I agree with the denial.
I do too. Okay. So the motion before the board is to deny waiver I. Hearing all those in favor say aye to denying waiver I.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Waiver I is denied. Next up is waiver J.
This is an OCTE waiver on behalf of Ray Valentine, a business and marketing teacher. The candidate states that by the time the candidate was admitted into a post-secondary institution, it was too late for financial aid. He later learned middle schools are not eligible for the scholarship hours and was unable to pay for classes out of pocket. The candidate reports that he has begun the process to get funding to take the required classes in the future, so they are requesting to waive the requirement of 6 semester hours and issue the 1-year provisional.
Ms. Gunn, what was the waiver committee's recommendation?
The waiver committee reviewed the waiver request, and the committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends EPSB grant the waiver.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion for action on waiver J?
I make a motion to approve waiver J.
Thank you, Captain Rosinski. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. The motion before the board is to approve waiver J. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Waiver J is approved. Next up is waiver K.
All right, this is a candidate requesting a waiver of the out-of-state GPA requirement for issuance of a professional certificate for middle school science and secondary chemistry. He had course-by-course evaluations on the same original transcript, but these agencies applied different grading conversions, resulting in different GPA calculations. He completed a Master of Science degree in Kentucky and received a qualifying GPA, and states this demonstrates his strong academic ability, discipline, and readiness. So the candidate requests the EPSB waive the out-of-state GPA requirement and issue him the full 5-year certificate.
Thank you so much. Ms. Gunn, what was the waiver committee recommendation?
The waiver committee reviewed the waiver request submitted by the applicant, and the committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that EPSB grant the waiver.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion for action on this waiver J? Okay. Teach math, okay? All right.
I make a motion to approve waiver K.
Thank you so much. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Dinkins and Dr. Mitchell. The motion before the board is to approve waiver K. Is there any discussion?
Yes, I think on this one, we did want him to verify that he actually had the master's because it wasn't indicated on his transcript. But other than that, we're fine.
So I believe then.
I think that's a natural part of the process. Anyway, we just wanted
Okay.
it documented that we said
That is
it.
a natural part of, okay, perfect. I was like, I don't know how to amend that. Sorry, I can make something up, but well, if it's a part of the process. All right, so the motion before the board is to approve waiver K. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Waiver K is approved. Next up is waiver L, which for those of us here at the board, that is the paper copy that was passed out to us.
So this is an OCTE waiver on behalf of Anthony King, a welding teacher. Mr. King took 2 extra classes and passed, but found out he had already taken them, so they wouldn't count. They looked for other classes, but all of them wouldn't be over until after his certificate expires. So they are requesting EPSB waive the requirement of 6 credit hours and issue the 1-year provisional.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gunn. What was the waiver committee's recommendation?
The waiver committee reviewed the waiver request submitted by the applicant. The committee found exceptional circumstances justifying the waiver. Therefore, the committee recommends that the EPSB grant the waiver.
Thank you so much. Is there a motion for action on waiver L?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Yoder. The motion before the board is to approve waiver L. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Waiver L is approved. Next up, we have 5 alternative routes to certification applications. These applicants are pursuing option 1, exceptional work experience route to certification. This is one of the alternative routes established by the legislature in KRS 161048. An applicant with exceptional work experience must have a bachelor's or graduate degree meeting minimum GPA requirements in an academic major or a passing score on the academic content assessment in the area in which certification is being sought. The board will need to determine if the applicant's work experience constitutes exceptional work experience. Up first is alternative route certification application A.
Good afternoon. So application A is for Yoon Hee Chung, and she is looking for art, all grades. This is full-time experience that she has as a storyboard artist with background skills of 3D modeling, animation, and storyboarding. She has experience in 3D animation, modeling, texturing, storyboard art, character design, concept art, comic book art and illustration, video editing, and game engines. She also has experience as an adjunct professor at Western Kentucky University, where she's taught Introduction to Computer Animation, Storyboarding, Drawing for Comic and Animation, and Digital Media 1. Her bachelor's is in Fine Arts in Illustration and a Master's of Fine Arts in Creative Technologies.
Are there any questions?
I'm recusing myself from this vote.
Okay. Do I have a motion for action on application A?
I make the motion to approve the application.
Thank you, Ms.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fryer and Mr. Rosinski. The motion before the board is to approve application A. Is there any discussion?
I just really enjoyed looking through all the storyboard stuff and the work samples, and I want to take that class, so.
Take the class.
Exciting. It's exciting.
All right, we are voting on approving application A. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Application A is approved. Next, we have application B.
Application B is for Miss Miranda Maisel, and she is looking for teaching agriculture, grades 5 through 12. She is currently an equestrian with hands-on experience in the agriculture industry. She has full-time and part-time experience as a student worker at WKU Farm, a farmhand at First Lights Run, wrangler at Wilderness Connection, at Sturmitz Ranch, and Ring Lake Ranch. She described herself as a productive worker with dedicated work ethic, enhanced skills in organization, time management, and adaptability, an expert communicator, and a team player who is empathetic and patient and actively listens. Her bachelor's and master's degrees are both in agriculture.
Thank you. Are there any questions? When did she graduate? I was trying to scroll back through that and my notes. So looks like her bachelor's
She graduated from Western with the BS in agriculture in 2021 and then the MS in agriculture in 2023.
Can you remind me, because I don't know off the top of my head, you know, Lisa had mentioned a couple of minutes ago for CTE that you had to have 2 years of 4 years and things like that. And I thought that there was something with the option one as far as how much work experience qualified you for that route. Is there? No. Okay, so it's purely up to board interpretation of what we, okay, just checking. Okay, thank you. That was my question. All right, application B, is there a motion for action on this application?
I'm recusing myself. It's not a motion, just letting you know.
Good to know, thank you.
I make a motion to deny this based on the exceptional work experience. I just found it lacking.
The motion has been made to deny the application. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. So the motion before the board is to deny application B. Is there any discussion?
Either from Amber or Lisa, can you just maybe just can we articulate a little more what could have, like, what you would have liked to have seen that would have made that difference? I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah, so I think that there's equine experience that I saw, but when you start talking about the wide range of courses taught in agriculture, in the CTE programs, I felt that the experience that I believe there needs to be for exceptional work experience. There are other avenues available to this candidate to be able to become other options that I would suggest should this motion be denied.
I think I would second that. As I look down through the work experience, a lot of it appears to be very summer based and, otherwise undergraduate, possibly graduate level work. And from the extensive content and information that is covered within the agricultural classes and pathway, I don't know that it meets that threshold for me. I would have liked to have seen several more years of work experience across different backgrounds to be able to teach that. So motion before the board is to deny waiver or application B. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Waiver B is denied, or application B. All right, next up is application C.
Application C is for Miss Sophie Nguyen, and she is looking to teach biology, grades 8 through 12. She has experience, full-time experience for 4 years being a research associate at Tanabe Research Laboratories, where she performs assays to confirm drug tests as well as validate the efficacy and potency of drugs under development. Her master's thesis work was at San Diego State University for 2 years, where she worked in the BSL-2 setting to study the interactions between bacteriophages and mammalian epithelial cells. Her experience also includes being an office assistant, research associate, and teaching assistant. She has a bachelor's of science degree in biomedical engineering and a master's of science degree in cell and molecular biology.
Thank you so much. Do I have a motion for action on application C?
I make a motion to approve.
Second. Now, thank you, Ms. Gunn, with the motion and Captain Rosinski with the second. The motion before the board is to approve application C. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I'm going to pass over to Vice Chair Fryer for the next one and recuse myself from this conversation.
So moving on to application D.
Application D is for Mr. Jonathan Tate, who is looking to teach Spanish, all grades. He has experience in Spanish language and Hispanic community outreach, as well as Spanish language student family support with the Southern Kentucky Migrant Education Program in the public school setting. He has been a long-term Spanish substitute with Madison Central High School. He has adopted 2 children from Colombia, and this has transformed his household into a fully bilingual English-Spanish home. He has a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Commerce, Language, and Culture, where he double majored in Business and Spanish.
Thank you. Do we have an application, or sorry, do we have a motion for action on this application? We'll obviously have discussion after a motion, but if you do have questions right now, you're welcome to ask them.
I move to approve simply because someone needs to make a motion.
That's fair. Yes, I appreciate that. Dr. Murphy has made a motion to approve the application. Do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. Now we will move to discussion.
Well, I'll just start.
Please.
I'm not sure how to assess the candidate's knowledge to be able to teach Spanish, foreign language, in the classroom based on the experience. While I recognize the experience and the conversational nature of communication that this individual has presented. And I also don't know, I don't know enough to be able to say that's enough. So I would like some input from somebody who teaches a language.
So I'm comfortable with passing this one because of his extensive experience with the Southern Kentucky Migrant Education Program. I think that knowledge of families and inevitably the double language work that would be required with working with parents and children in that space. Also his work doing long-term substitute work, I feel confident about. I might also be bringing an assumption of need and maybe program access to an MAT, which I'm putting out there because I don't know how extensive those opportunities are for teachers. So that could be a blind spot I have.
Further discussion? Okay, seeing none, the motion on the floor is to approve the application. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. The application is approved.
Next up, we have application E.
Lastly, we have application E for Mr. Michael Webb, who's looking to teach business and marketing education, grades 5 through 12. He has 5 full years, full-time experience of being a program manager of early careers in the Office of the Chief Actuary with Humana Incorporated, where he created intern development curriculum, designed full-time actuarial student program strategy, created and facilitated new leader training materials, and had oversight of the actuarial internship program. He has 5 years of experience also as a talent acquisition manager with campus recruiting and university relations with Chewy Incorporated and Humana Incorporated, where he completed initial review of campus recruiting and made data-driven recommendations for changes, created and executed a national campus recruitment strategy resulting over 300 hires per year, and created curriculum for internship programming. He also managed a budget of over $1.5 million. He has a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Business Administration and a Master's of Business Administration.
Thank you so much. Do I have a motion for action on this application?
Make a motion to approve application E.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mitchell. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fryer. The motion before the board is to approve application E. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. And application E is approved. I will now open the floor to any board member for board comments. Does anyone have anything they wish to share? Good luck as we enter testing season. I hope everybody's as close to summer as what I am. Let's go. At this time, I believe we are ready to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 1C and J to conduct a character and fitness review and to review potential actions relating to complaints and reports. The board will also review pending litigation. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
Make the motion to go to closed session.
Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. Do I have a second? Thank you, Dr. Murphy. The motion before the board is to go into closed session. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We are now ready to move into closed session. We will take a quick 5 to 10 minute break to grab lunch, which is here. All right. Is there a motion to go back into open session?
Mayfield, I motion to go back into open session.
Thank you, Ms. Mayfield. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Yoder. The motion before the board is to go back into open session. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We are now back in open session. At this time, we will vote on those items discussed during closed session. Here we go. Okay. Character and fitness, cases 1 through 4, approve. Substitute character and fitness, cases 1 through 3, approve. Case 4, deny. Agreed orders 1 through 4, approve. Educator cases, number 1, approve the PRC agreed order. 2 through 6, further investigation. 7, approve the PRC agreed order. 8, further investigation. 9, approve the PRC agreed order. 10 through 23, further investigation. 24, admonish. 25 through 29, further investigation. 30, approve the PRC agreed order. 31 through 33, dismiss with prejudice. 34 through 37, initiate hearing. On the recommended orders, case 1, adopt the recommended order of the hearing officer with the following modifications. Modification to the findings of fact to include reference to testimony that administrators directed staff to allow students who are uncomfortable to go see their counselors at any point during the Alice drill and to correct a citation. This is referenced later in the conclusions of law, but is not currently included in the findings of fact. Modify the findings of fact at page 6, paragraph 2, to correct citation to the record regarding student attempting to exit the room quickly. Modify the findings of fact at page 8, paragraph 3, to clarify that a 504 plan is designed to address particular learning differences and medical conditions per testimony of the school counselor. Modify the conclusions of law E on page 16 and conclusions of law G on page 17 to clarify that respondent did not disclose confidential information from an existing 504 plan, but instead disclosed a student's known or perceived disabilities, medical conditions to multiple students. Modify the recommended order to include analysis of factors as required by 16 KR 1030 section 23F. Case 2, adopt the recommended order of the hearing officer with the following modifications. Correct citations throughout the finding, conclusions, and recommended order to make technical corrections. Provide additional findings of fact based on testimony regarding the events that took place prior to the video recording. And clarify the recommended order for the probationary period that begins upon reissuance of a certificate to the respondent. Case 4. Modify the recommended order as follows with modify the findings of fact to make the paragraph numbering sequential, beginning with paragraph numbers 12 at the top of page 5, which should instead be numerical paragraph 10. Then numerical paragraphs 10 through 13 on page 5 should be renumbered as 11 through 14, and numerical paragraphs 14 on page 6 should be renumbered as 15. Modify the conclusions of law to make the paragraph numbering sequential, beginning with numerical paragraphs 15 and 16 on page 6, which should instead be numerical paragraphs 16 and 17. Further renumber all paragraphs beginning with paragraph 24 on page 6 and running through paragraph 30 on page 8 as paragraphs 18 through 24, and accept the recommended order. On case 3, we are going to issue an order granting in part and denying in part petitioner's motion to strike. Specifically, we strike from the record the respondent's inclusion with the exceptions of social media, as Ms. Kelly Isaacs, and reference one or more photographs posted thereon. However, the board will not strike reference to portions of respondent's exceptions that cite the McGoffin District Court order and proceedings related thereto. We do modify the recommended order as follows. Strike the reference to the petitioner's exhibits that have by court order now been expunged from the EPSB administrative record, specifically exhibits 5 through 7. Strike the reference to exhibit 7 within the findings of fact in light of the expungement order, and strike the reference of the precise time of 7:47 p.m. Include within the findings of fact that the respondent testified that he pled guilty, as such testimony is not impacted by the expungement order. Modify the recommendation to suspend the professional certificate for 60 days. He be required to complete no less than 10 hours of relevant, thank you, board-approved training prior to reinstatement, and he be placed on probation for 5 years after his reinstatement, during which time any disciplinary action or violation of KRS 161120 or 16 KR 1020 may result in the permanent revocation of his professional certificates. Additionally, modify and make additional technical edits to the procedural history, renumbering in the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and recommendation.
CJ Fryer, recuse on educator case 28, yes to all others.
Lisa Rodzinski, yes to all.
Scotty Collier, yes to all.
Jacqueline Mayfield, accused on agreed order number 3 and recommended order number 1. Yes to all the rest.
Mike Yoder, yes to all.
Kathy Gunn, recused on recommended order number 1, agree to all others.
Elizabeth Jenkins, agree to all.
Justin Mitchell, agree to all.
Amber Snell, agree to all. At this time, it has snuck past our attention that this will be our last in-person meeting for one of our dear board members who will be retiring as of June 1st, I do believe. Otherwise, we would have celebrated them much earlier in this meeting. I just want to say thank you, Jackie, for your time and your service on the board, your insight and your experiences have been invaluable, and I know that the Commonwealth will be missing you in the fall when you are not there in the classroom. But I do hope that you come travel with me and enjoy some of your retirement.
Thank you all, and I have enjoyed my time on the board and getting to know all my friends, my new colleagues and friends, and yes, I would love to travel with you.
All right, so I'm going to say a quick round of
Congrats,
applause.
Jackie.
We would have celebrated you a little bit more, my friend, but I have a feeling June 1st, you're going to be celebrating enough for the rest of us. So, that being said, I do need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, and I believe I heard the second. The motion before the board is to adjourn. Is there any discussion? See you all soon in 13 days, apparently. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We are now adjourned.